only.
10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Up only.
Hello and welcome to Up Only TV. We're gonna make this work. My name is Ledger. We got Cobie coming here in just a second, and our guest Meltem, of course. Before we get to it, I want to tell you about Blockfolio. All you have to do is go to uponly.tv/Blockfolio. It is a seamless trading experience that you can check out today. Go directly from one asset to the other. It's so easy that even the Twitch raiders can get it done. Just go to uponly.tv/Blockfolio. Try it today. You can also get all the portfolio tracking you've known and loved since 2014. Thanks to Blockfolio for being our exclusive partner. Let's get to the show. Cobie, hello.
Hello. At some point, we're going to have to get higher production quality for this, aren't we? Seems like every other episode, we completely rug ourselves.
Look, the audience did not know that I was rugging us, but my recorder will not turn on, so we're going to pull the video off the Twitch stream. That's okay. That's okay. Look, we're here. Nobody would have known if you didn't say anything. It was just quiet for a minute on the stream. But
yeah.
How are you doing?
All right, Meltem, how you doing?
I'm alive. I was telling Ledge before we started a few weeks ago when I went on CNBC, they had given me the wrong call time. So the producer called me like 15 minutes before I thought my call time was. And I did an entire 5-minute segment not wearing anything on the lower half of my body.
Wait, you were supposed to be wearing pants?
Yeah.
I've done all my episodes like this.
Cobie hasn't worn pants in like a year and a half.
But wait, here's the question. Okay, are you wearing underpants?
What's that? No, I actually have Gaines's favorite pants on. They're like
those are
Remind me to never sit on furniture in your house.
Yeah, look, I'll get you some of the radioactive Lambo pants if you want. They're great.
No, I have really cool like.
Those you got the floppy ones, yeah.
Yeah, the nice floppy ones.
They swish around.
They match. They do.
Right.
I look like a like swishy sea creature. While I sit here and trade coins and do crypto things.
So, Ledger, we've both revealed our pants. The chat wants to see your pants now.
Mine are just dad shorts, man. I couldn't like. What else did you expect?
Are you wearing khakis?
Just khaki shorts.
You're wearing khakis inside your own house.
Yeah.
Bro.
Is that bad?
I normally don't. I normally have like these soft, like PJ type pants, but today I'm just wearing khaki shorts. I'm sorry.
Like you gotta get like the elastic.
That's good. Oh man,
That's nice.
I'm typically an elastic maximalist, but Meltem, I'm really the type that I like to build it in a secret, hidden way, so it doesn't look like it's elastic, so I can get away with.
Is it like in the back, like
yeah, like you can.
Pants,
yeah, you can get away with being fat, but like nobody really knows that you have the expandy pants on.
I love this for you, Ledge. I'm so delighted that you found. I think they put those. I think my 5-year-old nephew wears those. Like he has the stretchy pants with the elastic.
Yeah, I mean, you don't become my level of like semi-fat without understanding elastic pants pretty well. So, I mean, this is a topic we can talk about.
No. Well, what do people want to hear? I
think this is what they want to hear. I don't think they'll want us to talk about anything else the rest of the episode.
Yeah, we need to take this moment to shout out Alec from Blockfolio, who's probably watching, who sponsored this show. Shout out to all the people in the Blockfolio Slack who's saying, Alec, why did you sponsor this show again?
It's like, wait, were we just celebrating extending this deal further? Yes, we were. This episode.
I didn't even know you guys had a sponsor. That's fire.
Yeah, you weren't listening to the intro. You were just watching me be awkwardly quiet.
I was looking at my phone.
Yes, we are brought to you by Blockfolio. You can go to uponly.tv/Blockfolio. And now I'm going to enter a very silent Coke advertisement. Just like in the theaters.
You are pumping Warren Buffett's bags. You know that, right?
Coke is Warren Buffett's exact favorite type of bag.
I drink out of my Zcash cup.
Aren't you?
Wait, how do I get one of them?
Path is euphoric right now. You got to be on the Zcash board like Meltem. Like she's an advisor.
I'm not on the Zcash board. No.
Oh, come on.
I'm a friend. I'm a friend. I'm not involved. I just have
Oh,
the
okay.
mug.
So you're not
I
one
want
of.
a Zcash mug.
You can get one.
Wait, who's on the
How?
Zcash? What? Somebody is on the Zcash Foundation.
Like someone else with a vagina?
Was it? No, no, no.
What?
No, I swear I heard you and Jill talk about it. Wow, called out, but
Oh,
isn't
no.
it?
You know who's Amber Scott was on it. She
Was on it.
runs,
Meltem, you have to save me here.
You're nervous now, dude. You're like stumbling your words. You're
No,
all
Meltem
right.
hosted the Grind My Gears podcast with Jill Carlson, and they talked. Either one of them or one of their guests was on the Zcash Foundation. There was a whole episode about it because I was a fan of it. It was a bear market podcast.
We didn't have guests ever. That was our whole theme for the podcast, was we wanted to do something research driven because there's so many guest driven podcasts in crypto.
I'm just so wrecked.
No, it's fine. We are all clearly assholes, so that's okay. No, so the Zcash Foundation, they gave me this like 2 years ago. Josh at the foundation came to an event in my office and he gave me this beautiful mug. But over the years, I actually have here in my office just like piles of crypto swag that I've accumulated because I've been in the industry since 2015. So I have like original rootstock pins that they gave out in 2015. I have like a chia mug somewhere that was given out in like 2016. Like I have the craziest, weirdest stuff. It's just
Is
accumulate.
that cheer mug must be worth something now? You could resell that for like 100x or something.
I want my chia equity to number go up first because I'm an investor in chia. Yeah, and actually what's crazy about chia is like they're running out of solid state hard drives around the world because so many people are trying to farm chia. Like when crypto markets start to move compute markets, like 2 years ago when you couldn't get a GPU anywhere because everyone was mining the shit out of Ethereum. Like that to me is when crypto becomes very real, is when actual hardware supply chains are being disrupted by people who want to provide compute to crypto networks. Like that's pretty significant.
I've
Yeah,
heard.
it was always like I remember when I was at university and maybe Dogecoin was just released and it was like maybe we should like mine some stuff and we're Bitcoin, like you have to use ASICs now, and we had all these graphics cards, and then we were buying graphics cards, and the price of graphics cards was just skyrocketing, and like Nvidia was just cleaning up, and I was like, is this real? It's like, is this the demand for graphics cards just going nuts? But I've started to develop a theory that graphics card companies are actually responsible for the majority of climate change, because when like everything started moving to proof of stake, they needed a new scam, right? So they needed a new way to pump graphics cards. So that's why they pumped. That's why they pumped NFT.
Wait, do you believe that graphics cards are a scam? Like, is there a conspiracy theory around graphics cards?
Yeah, like Satoshi, no one knows who he is, but it's actually the CEO of Nvidia. They just
They needed a new market to grow their TAM, or their total addressable market. That's right.
Yeah, and some guy pitched it in a board meeting, and like half the people were like, "That'll never work," and the CEO were like, "You're a genius,"
Yeah.
and then they did it.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely crazy. And what's even funnier to me is I have a friend who was mining Dogecoin randomly. I've been working in this industry for 7 years, and I've like worked to build businesses, and we just took CoinShares public. Like I've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this. My friend's been mining Dogecoin like randomly for 5 years. He's now richer than I am. So I feel like
Did he have diamond hands that whole time? Like he just speculatively mined Dogecoin and didn't sell any?
he just didn't care. He was like, this is so dumb, but it's like literally sitting here in my house. I'm just going to mine Doge. And now he's so rich. And I'm like,
is he dumping
I've been
it
doing
now?
it all. I've been doing it all wrong. No, he's not caring. He's like, he doesn't even know how to sell.
Oh, okay. So he'll be poor again before too long. But on paper, he's very wealthy today. Meltem,
look,
do you think Doge to $1 is inevitable?
You know what? The trend is your friend is what I've learned. I think a lot of people get off on like being really smart And maybe I was this way when I first got into crypto. I was like, this is so ridiculous, it'll never work. But that bell curve diagram is definitely something that resonates with me. You know, you have like very low IQ at the bottom of the bell curve, very high IQ at the top end, and in the middle are like reasonable people. In this industry, I don't think you can always afford to be reasonable.
I can confirm. I'm very reasonable and poor. But we're making our revenge, though. I don't know if you've, I'm certain you've not been paying attention to my shit posting on Twitter, but we're going to have the revenge of the 100 IQs here. So it's our time. I don't know if you've heard, but it's time to jump on the bandwagon.
I haven't heard. I need to get on this wagon because I don't think I'm at either end of, I don't know, actually. Some days I'm on like the very bottom of the bell curve, like when I'm not wearing any pants on broadcast television, squarely in like the 50 IQ camp. And then some days I do something and I'm like, wow,
wait,
that was good.
Meltem, I know you're a fantasy fiction reader. Have you ever read Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson? There's a character.
I've read Wheel of Time series, but not Stormlight. No.
There's a character in it that is, he wakes up every day on a different part of the curve, and like, once in a blue moon, he's like a genius. So that you're basically saying you're this guy.
I don't know that I'm saying that. I don't want to really make those proclamations. All I'm saying is, I think it's really easy to be a critic. And like I said, maybe I've been guilty of that myself in the past. It's really hard to build things. And what I will say about the Doge community is, I think it makes sense that the meme is the message, because this isn't just limited to crypto, right? Like I was on Wall Street Bets before March of 2020, and I'd gotten into it because one of my friends, like, Meltem, you have to see this. This community is so epic. Like, it reminds me of crypto Twitter, except it's on Reddit. I was like, sign me up. I love chaos. So I hop in there. And people are like talking about Neo. They're talking about these random stocks. Like you see this across the board in equities. For a lot of people, investing has become a form of entertainment. And arguably, like, every market will eventually be a capital market of some kind. Even if we look at Twitter, right? Like we're all competing for attention and we monetize that attention in different ways, whether you have a fund or whether you have a show that's sponsored or like, who knows what people do with it. So I think in a way, Doge is sort of an inevitability. Like, what do you do when you have a bunch of people who have a bunch of money, are looking at, the financial system kind of slow motion imploding? They're like, well, I might as well buy this dog coin because at least it's kind of cool. So it's like, I'm not trying to fight the meme. I myself don't own Dogecoin. I just don't know what I would do with it. Like, I don't have the conviction to hold it to $1.
Yeah, same.
But like, kudos to people who got into it and now made money on it. Like, who am I to judge? I'm not a judge. I'm not a jury. I'm not an executioner. So cheers to the Dogers. I hope you make it count.
So Meltem, we've got some people in the chat that are pretty new to crypto and the ecosystem. You've been around for a long time, but they might not all know who you are, what you do. You've been in the space for a long time. You do CoinShares, but what was kind of your path to get here?
Yeah, great question. And hi to everyone who's new. Welcome to the other side of the mirror. It's super weird, but very fun. So I got into Bitcoin in 2013 because my brother told me about it. So I grew up like, I'm an immigrant. I didn't speak English. So I was a teenager. I grew up in Europe. When I first moved to the States, I had an internet connection in my house, didn't speak a word of English. It was summer vacation. So the only two things I could do was read books and play video games and shit talk with people on the internet. So that was how I spent my teenage years. I was very uncool, but low-key like cool because I was a nerd. But my brother and I had always been like really into doing stuff on the internet, whether that's like, early days of BitTorrent, like seeding, leashing files. We had a thing going for a while where we were one of the first people in our town to have a CD burner. So we'd like burn CDs for people and charge them for it. Like we were hustlers. So he was like, hey, check out this Bitcoin thing. I was like, this is kind of weird. But then I started actually using Bitcoin to transact with, friends and family who are overseas. And I was like, wait a minute. I don't have to go to a bank. And I had started my career in trading. I worked in corporate finance. I was like, wait a minute. at like 3 a.m. on a Sunday, I can send hundreds or thousands of dollars to someone just on my computer. That's wild. Went to grad school, tried to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. Unclear. Met Barry Silbert, who was building Digital Currency Group at the time. He was like, I think this is what we're going to do here. I was like, cool. Sign me up. Like, let me know what we need to do. Mm-hmm. So that was a really wild ride. And so the first 3 years I spent in the industry, I worked on building DCG and grew that business and invested in a bunch of companies and just
that was their VC side, right?
Yeah. So I worked on the investment portfolio, but I also worked kind of at the corporate level, did the CoinDesk acquisition, worked on the launch of the new lending business, which is now, Genesis Capital, a bunch of different stuff. And then at the beginning of 2018, right, we went through that crazy cycle in 2017. And January 2018, I was like, I need to take a step back. Like, I'm in way too deep. This is really weird. Because I had just watched my net worth go like up to a crazy number. And then on Jan 8th was the peak. And then I was like, I'm poor again. Great. Yay. So I took a step back, started angel investing and just wanted to get a different view of the world. Didn't want to work on Ethereum Classic. Yeah. Candidly.
No offense, Barry.
It's fine. It's just like, it's not for me. I'm not gonna do that, because at the end of the day, I think what you also realize is I think in this industry especially, but also just the world we live in, like being attached to a brand is fine, but having that brand be your brand, I think is long-term, like not good for your well-being. So then I joined CoinShares, and we've grown CoinShares significantly over the last 2.5 years that I've been there. We publicly listed the business in March of this year on the NASDAQ in Europe. As of today, we have close to $6 billion in assets under management in our exchange traded products. We have a really large trading business that does all sorts of stuff, including prop trading, liquidity provisioning, trade execution, electronic trading systems. And then I continue to invest. We have about 20 companies in our portfolio. And we're starting to make acquisitions and build really interesting partnerships in the space. And I'm in charge of corporate strategy. So it's like looking at all the crazy things that are happening in our industry and saying, okay, like how does this actually fit into a long-term business? We're trying to build that accrues shareholder value. So it's been really fun. It's been a weird journey, but this is the most interesting industry ever, I think, when I think about what I want to spend my time on. Like it's this. Mm-hmm. It's so fun. I can't believe this is a job. Can you? Like, this is somehow my job. It's great.
Can you believe it's an industry? Like, half the time you wake up and you're like, what happened? Like, you just read Twitter and you're like, really? That's the thing that's happening today? And it's like, was this way it was like 60 years ago when people were doing serious stuff? Where they like woke up and like, that doesn't seem right.
No, but look, I think like bullshit is a part of any new industry. There's a great book by Carlotta Perez called Technological Innovation and Financial Bubbles, which basically is all about like anytime there's a new technology paradigm, you're going to have a bunch of bullshit and snake oil salesmen and people trying to capitalize on that, right? And it's not just crypto. Like look at someone made a joke the other day. I was talking about how ridiculous crypto VC was. It was totally from Solana. He was like, oh yeah, we should have invested in ride sharing and scooter startups instead, right? Which is a pretty good point because bullshit is everywhere. It's all around us. It's not exclusive to crypto. So I think as an industry, sometimes we're too critical of ourselves. Having worked in the venture space, I cannot believe at some point of my life that I looked up to VCs and wanted to be a VC. Like, talk about Ponzi's. Like half the VC industry is total garbage. And half of it is profound, really amazing innovation that makes people's lives better, easier, lets them do things they haven't been able to do before. So I think you can't have just only the good, right? Like the good and the bad go hand in hand. And part of what makes crypto so interesting is how quickly it shifts. Something will come out and you'll be like, oh my God, this is so revolutionary and transformative. And then 6 months in, you'll be like, this is ass. And the inverse will also happen where something will come out and you'll be like, oh, this is stupid and scammy. And then a year or two later, you're like, oh, wait, actually, whoa, there's all of this really interesting stuff happening. I want to spend more time looking at this. So I'm
I
trying
feel like
to
you
be
just
less
described.
judgmental.
I feel like you just described. You may be a shareholder, so no offense, but like XRP on one side, like, oh yeah, it's blockchain for banks, and then it becomes something garbage.
Wait, did you just accuse me of?
No, I said you might be. You've been. You could have invested in it. I don't know, Meltem. I don't know the whole story. But then on the other side, I'm just gonna destroy myself and Meltem today. And then on the other side, there's like sushi, where it was this ridiculous food token farming Ponzi that turned into like a DeFi blue chip
That
protocol.
also rugged itself, by the way.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I think is amazing. Like sushi rugged itself, and people were like, "That's cool,"
But like,
because they gave the money back. It's
aside
cool.
from me saying you may be a shareholder or whatever, but like from a perspective,
No, you called me a rippler, and you thought you would offend me by dunking on XRP. Like that's offensive.
no,
Ledge. I have taste.
okay, so but from a all right, screw it. Next question.
But wait, hold on. So what I think is so interesting though is I think people are really judgmental about crypto. And by the way, the media does not help. Like all the media does is sensationalize what's happening in crypto. And yeah, it's super weird. The personalities are super weird, but that's what I think makes it so appealing is you have a bunch of people who have memed an entirely new reality into existence. That's fire. Like show me another group of people who've been able to do that in the last 50 to 70 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I wonder if they did, because like if you think about it, gold, it's not really anything, is it? It's just a rock that looks a bit different. And
Yeah.
I kind of like, on one hand, you can imagine a bunch of people in a room, however long ago gold was discovered, and they're like, bro, let's just tell them that it's the sickest rock ever and it's worth loads, and we'll just keep all these shiny rocks and we'll be billionaires. So maybe we're just on the tail end of all these memes, and we just don't realize they're memes because we've normalized them and we weren't around. Because like maybe in like 100 years, when people are transacting with Dogecoin and it's just normal to them, they won't realize that it was a joke. And like the actual dog, the actual like breed of dog is like a status symbol. They'll just be like, well, yeah, that's just what money is.
But I think that's exactly the point, right? Is we're reaching this point in our culture and our society where information is relatively cheap to the point where it's almost free. It's ubiquitous. Like we can source information on Twitter faster than news publications can push it out. Right. So we're getting to this point where there's like a global hive mind happening in these different communities on these different forums, whether it's Twitter or Reddit, like choose your favorite poison. But we've built kind of this like global collective consciousness that's hyper connected at all times, but we still can't exchange value other than using like dollars and euros. And the thing is, it's so interesting talking to bankers because they'll say like, oh, you can't have a currency without having an army. And I'm like, well, yeah, but we do have an army. Like, have you been on crypto Twitter, right? the tribalism is part of that sort of intercultural warfare. And I actually think the tribalism of crypto, like if you go back and you read about tribalism in the physical world, right? It's part of the warring between different tribes is supposed to maintain like the fitness of your culture and the fitness of your society. You need like regular skirmishes to sort of call off the non-believers or the people who have weakly held beliefs and like make sure your community is really strong. So I actually think what we're seeing is the emergence of an entirely new type of societal structure. It's not a nation state. It's not a corporation, right? It's a community of people who share the same belief in what has value. It could be Dogecoin. It could be ass, which is also a coin apparently, which I learned yesterday because it was shilled on my feed. It could be, you know, Taco coin, or it could be Bitcoin. At the end of the day, like nothing makes one thing more real than the other. Again, I personally have beliefs around what I think is valuable, which is why I don't hold Dogecoin. So joke's on me on that one. But I think that's what's cool about it is we can organize into these communities. And if I believe, you know, that XRP is the greatest asset in the world, then there's a whole community of other people online that I can hang out with and like do that with. And that's great.
No, only half of them have been paid to say that. So do you
Everyone's got to make a living. Everyone's got to make a living. Let's not judge.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. So do you own ass?
I don't. Okay, so yesterday I was laughing about the fact that all these dog coin people are just like way richer than me, which is, I'm like, you go, Glen Coco. Like, and then someone was talking about, hashtag ass, and I was like, that's now a coin. That's cool.
That's another dog token. It's another dog token. It's like named after an Australian shepherd or something.
Yeah, that's what ass. That's what
coin.
ass stands for. It's got something about Australian shepherds in it.
What?
Somebody did.
I love it.
Somebody did a song about it and sent it to Cobie and I.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Wait, can we get a preview of the song, like just a taste?
Yeah, can we have Meltem's reaction to the song?
Yeah, give me a minute.
On mine, because I've never seen it before.
Yeah, give me a minute and I'll pull it in.
Yeah, you find it. So I'll tell the ass story. So I was like, dogs are cute, like, and people love the dog coins. Like, that's interesting. And someone was like, yeah, ass to the moon. Like, I'm gonna be so rich on ass. I was like, you know what? I hope you become an ass millionaire. Multi-millionaire. And then all of the ass people started showing up in my DMs. And I was like, I gotta shut this down. Like, I don't own any. I have no affiliation with it. I just thought it was amazing that there's a token called ass. On Friday, I went out with some of my friends, like normal friends, not my crypto friends. And we were talking about Cum Rocket.
Naturally.
You know, the founder of ComRocket is going to come on this podcast, maybe on Thursday.
She's fire, though.
Yeah. She quit her job to work on ComRockets full time. I thought she quit uni, but it wasn't. She was finished uni. She quit her job.
Everything about it is hilarious. But one of my friends at this dinner was like, what's up with cummies? I was like, what's cummies? And he pulls out his phone and pulls up CoinGecko. And he's like, since you're on CNBC and you talk about Bitcoin, I figured you know about CumRocket. I was like, I don't. So this is my life. This is what happens in my life. It's fabulous.
So you went from like being in Congress talking about shitcoins to your friends coming to you for financial advice about BSC tokens named after various sexual organs and stuff.
I don't think they come to me for advice. I genuinely think people who are newer to the space just look at it and they're like, what's pirate chain? And I'm like, I'll be honest, I don't know. And they're like, the ticker is R. And I'm like, I understand. It's just like, but there's so many of these random things, it's like impossible for me to explain. And then they're like, right, but if Dogecoin is the 4th largest crypto, like, what does that mean? I'm like, that's an excellent question.
Yeah, if you try and put a bullish thesis together for Doge, it's actually possible to pull one together for like a medium to long term thesis. I just didn't think about it before because it's a coin about a dog.
Right.
It makes sense.
I'm actually not sure if you're going to be able to hear this. I don't know if y'all are going to be able to hear this.
Well, maybe you should sing it to us.
I'm gonna turn on the audio from the stream.
Hold on, I might be able to pull it in. All right. Does that come in?
If I'm supposed to hear something now, no.
Okay. Well, it probably doesn't.
I'm just gonna watch it on the stream.
Yeah. Anyway, we don't even have to get to that point. The important part is at the very end, they gave us a little tiny shout out.
Wait, no, we can just watch it. We can just watch it by turning on the audio for the stream.
There we are. Well, I don't know if it's actually going to come through the stream. That's my problem.
All right. Ask the stream. Ask the chat.
I'll pull it in a different way.
All right.
Wait, can we just get a glimpse of the video? Like, I just want to see the cartoon.
That's what no, it's not a cartoon. It's just a guy on an acoustic guitar. If you look at my video,
kind of degen.
Yeah.
Kind of.
The most annoying thing about your friends asking you about like Elon Gate or like Shiba or Safe Moon and all these basically joke coins that have like Ponzi-nomics built into them. The most annoying thing is like, what can you say to them? You can't, like, they say, is this a good buy? And you can't say no, right? But you can't say, well, probably not. You you don't really know this person. That's these like people that come out of the weeds when crypto gets frothy to ask you like how they can make $1 million in 5 days, and you want to kind of say like, well, it depends on your timeline. It depends how savvy you are like with this stuff. It depends how often you're going to be looking at the charts. It depends like if you're smart enough to like try and sell.
Wait, hold on. Smart is not.
Oh yeah, or dumb enough. Like if you're if you're long tail either side enough.
Yeah.
But like
you need to be far out. You need to be like 6 standard deviations from the mean.
Yeah, you're full long tailing.
Yeah.
But so like you can't say no to them, because then it goes a million times and they think you're an idiot and they're like, wow, you've been doing this 10 years? Like, dude. And then you can't do it. You can't say yes to them because it like, then you made them buy the thing that goes to zero. It's the same result. There's no winning. You just kind of go, don't know, dude. It's too new. Maybe do your own research. That's not what they want to hear.
I mean, look, but at the end of the day, I think this is also like, we like to think sometimes that what we're experiencing is unique to crypto, but it really isn't. I think one of the things I have come to appreciate now that I'm in my mid 30s and I'm wiser than I was 7 years ago, arguable how wise, because I didn't know Dogecoin. What's really interesting to me is like most people in life don't want to actually do any work. They don't want to think about anything for themselves. They just want like an easy button and they hit it and they just get what they want. Like the idea that they will have to do work and like have an opinion on something. People don't have opinions on things. To me, that is so terrifying. I'm like, how do you feel about X? They're like, well, I don't have an opinion. Why don't you tell me what to think? And I'm like, what's up with this person? What's going on here? And I think crypto is the same. A lot of people come into it and they don't want to do the work. They just literally want someone to tell them what to do. And then what's really scary to me, or what's I think sort of counterproductive for our industries, they refuse to take responsibility for anything, right? It's like they want permissionless financial innovation. They want, this magical internet money, but they don't want to be responsible for anything. And I'm like, that's called banking. That's how we got to where we are in our fucking society today, is because humans didn't want to take responsibility for anything for like the last 150 years. And so to repeat that cycle again, I'm just like, why are you doing this? Like you could literally trade anything else, like sell Beanie Babies online, trade, I don't know, lumber, like triple X levered lumber futures, trade like triple levered junior gold miners. You don't have to trade crypto. But I just think generally what people are looking for is they want to be entertained. They want an easy button and they want people to tell them what to do. And I just think if that's your approach to life, you're probably not going to make it,
I think that's interesting because a lot of people in crypto, especially when we're more obviously in a bear market, they seem to think crypto is the only thing they could trade. When legacy markets, especially if you leverage up, you can still trade them, and not all of them are even that efficient. Like you talked about junior gold miners or, like I got interested in some of the uranium sector at one point, thinking it might unbottom itself.
Ledge, I'm so sorry for you.
Well, no, it's just, it actually did okay in the past year, but but like there, you can find volatility elsewhere, but you may have to level it up or like leverage it up a little bit. Different than like 100x crypto leverage or whatever, but
let's be clear, right? There's a difference between speculating, which is you're alluding to. You can speculate in any market. If you want to trade vol, and like I love vol, right? I started my career as a trader. Like there's nothing like the feeling of smashing the button and just like putting it all on the line. It makes you feel alive. And I think you have to be like, you have to be a little bit degenerate to make it in this industry, because you're going to have to make bets with conviction about things that feel completely ridiculous. Right. But I do think there is a difference between short-term, like speculative trading or trading vol and what others, like, I think for me, the appeal of crypto has always been this idea that you can exit, right? Like instead of fighting the system, you can choose to exit the system, and we're building this alternate system over here. So to me, yes, like the monetary side's obviously exciting and interesting and like, yay, who doesn't love that? But there's a larger objective. And for me, I'm net long Bitcoin. I'm net long Ether at this point. Like I'm looking to hold things long term. There's a certain part of my portfolio that I trade. I obviously venture invest as an angel and with, CoinShares money into earlier stage, like highly speculative stuff, but not to trade it. It's primarily to hold it over longer durations. Most of the volatility that we trade, we deploy through our prop book where we trade a statistical arbitrage strategies. So it's risk neutral, right? And there's a ton of great trades that you can put on in crypto that are risk neutral, like the basis trade or the cash carry trade, until recently. So there are a ton of great trades you can put on that will yield like 10 to 15% cash a year without taking any principal risk, which is super attractive for someone who's traded traditional markets, has traded fixed income. Like the vol in crypto is like crack to a traditional macro trader. But once you've been in crypto for a while and you see some of the yields, and I think that's what happened with DeFi summer is, you see 3,000% APY or 5,000% APY, you're like, just like chuck it all in. But then you get desensitized, right? Because then you go back to regular markets and you're like, okay, I could put my assets into SPY and make 15% a year, or I could ape crypto and make 500% a year. So I just think you sort of get desensitized. Like the reason the yields are so high in crypto is because it's really volatile and highly cyclical. So I think sometimes when people don't recognize, like in this market, everyone's a genius, right? I talk to people in funds and they're like, we're up 10x. I'm like, you should be, because Bitcoin and Ether have gone up 10x. Like, if you're not, you're doing it wrong. And that's not an insult, but like, that's not you, babe. That's like the beta of the market, right? Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of times people just aren't really understanding what's happening. And so there's Dunning-Kruger syndrome where you're attributing your own success to the underlying activity in the market. And it's important to just separate the two and to know what game you're playing, which I think in these cycles, sometimes it's difficult for people themselves to know what game they're playing. And I've definitely been that person too, where I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah. You mentioned,
I haven't bought any dog coins yet, so I feel like I'm doing okay. But when I start buying dog coins, I will call the help hotline and be like, help, I need therapy.
As of this morning, I need to call the help hotline.
You bought a dog coin?
Dog coin?
No,
which one?
No, I bought the one that Cobie that you tweeted. It wasn't a dog coin. It was another scam on BSC that
you're gonna have to clarify, because it sounds like you just said I tweeted a scam.
No, I made a joke.
To clarify what happened.
I made a joke video and put it in a Telegram group that was very small. And then someone tagged Cobie in it, and I said, "Don't you dare share this." And he tweeted it, and he didn't realize it was a real coin.
What's the coin?
I'm not saying what coin it is. It's you can find it on poocoin.app. It's probably a high momentum trade.
Wow, that is a name I have not heard in a long time.
It's a discovery app for finding quality BSC projects.
Wait, Wait, I thought you said KuCoin. Like
no. Poo, P-O-O. PooCoin.app.
Wow.
Not a sponsor. Yeah. Shocking.
I swear, half the time I look at it, it don't even work. The chart's just like two candles and massive gaps in between. It never works.
Yeah, it is not a scam. I told them if they rug, then I was going to hunt them down and, figure out some way for them to have consequences for their actions. It's a charity
Counterpoint. Has a coin existed on BSC for more than 3 months without rugging ever?
Pancake swap.
Okay, one. The exception that proves the rule.
B&B. I don't know, man. I don't know. BSC it's beyond the Wild West, but Bakery Swap, that's a good one. Beefy is another one.
Bakery Swap?
Bakery Swap.
You realize to like the outside person, you're just saying random foods.
Yes. I think they're all insane. I'm not supporting them. I don't, like I said, I need to call the help hotline because I fell in today. I fell off the wagon.
What did you buy? What did you find on PooCoin?
We have too many listeners. I'm not shilling a low cap BSC coin. It's in the chat. Don't worry.
Some people in chat keep saying some good names, but I'm scared to read them out in case they're real. I'm like convinced
They're all
that that's
real,
not
dude. They're all real. They're all their bags. Meltem, you brought something up, and I wanted to ask you about it because you referenced the GBTC premium versus discount, and it was always carried the significant premium. It was basically this free money trade for people that were willing to, issue new shares of GBTC, hold them for 6 months. So they could delta hedge it if they wanted to.
Exactly.
Why do you think that the premium on that went to such a severe discount? What do you think the story is there? And did y'all participate in this at any point?
Yeah, so I think the story is really simple. We ourselves have not participated in the GBTC cash carry trade. I think we did a little bit of ETH back in late 2018 or mid 2019 on the trading side. But it wasn't material size. I mean, certainly not the size that like the BlockFis or the 3 Arrows of the world are doing, right?
Yeah.
I think the story on GBTC is really simple. And again, like full disclosure, was at DCG for 3 years, worked closely with the Grayscale team. A lot of respect for what's been done over there. I think the issue is this. If you think about holding GBTC, the annual fee on that product is 2.5% per year. And so the NAV of that product arguably should trade at a discount, right? Of 2.5% to account for that management fee. But if you think about holding that asset, like the actual Bitcoin held in each certificate is eroded over time, right? So effectively, if you hold GBTC in your IRA or your retirement account, which I know some people do, you're paying 2.5% in Bitcoin every year, which means at the end of a 10-year holding period, you need Bitcoin to have gone up at least 200% to account for, right, all of the fees that you would lose, but you would still underperform Bitcoin. So I think people were doing the cash carry trade believing they could exit. At the same time, retail demand for GBTC went down significantly because there are now way more ways to get exposure to crypto outside of GBTC. I can buy Bitcoin in Cash App. I can buy it on Robinhood. I can buy it through Coinbase. I can buy it through Gemini. I can buy it through Kraken. I can buy it through SoFi. Like now also there are ETFs you can buy in the Canadian market. We work with 3iQ. We have the 3iQ CoinShares Bitcoin ETF that has over $1 billion in AUM. We just issued an Ether ETF in collaboration with 3iQ. And those are at about a 1% management fee and they're liquid. Our products in Europe have always traded basically at NAV because they're created and redeemed on a daily basis. And so I think, again, retail investors all of a sudden had way more options when it came to getting exposure to Bitcoin. It's also way easier to put Bitcoin in your retirement account. So we work with Choice and I'm on the board there. Choice is a retirement offering by Kingdom Trust. You can basically put Bitcoin in your retirement account and pay 1% a year in fees.
You have to have a specific type of retirement account or IRA, right, to be able to use the Choice ones, or can you use it in accounts you already own?
You can use it in accounts you already own. They even have a 401k offering for corporates. So we are users of the Bitcoin 401k offered by Choice. And it's pretty rad because you can trade crypto in that account as well. And they rely on our CoinShares order books. So you can basically trade through our order book, access to great liquidity. And so that's been really cool to see. And they're getting tons of people converting their accounts from Schwab and Vanguard into Choice accounts because people want to hold crypto. They also did a really cool thing where they partnered up with Casa, which I'm personally an investor in, where you can actually have Bitcoin in your retirement account, but hold it on your own hardware via your Casa multisig. So like there's a bunch of really cool innovation happening in the asset management space that's allowing people to hold Bitcoin in a wide variety of ways. It used to be that Grayscale was the only way to access crypto through your retirement account. No longer the case. And then let's not forget about the pseudo ETFs. MicroStrategy is effectively, right, an equity that's a pseudo Bitcoin ETF because the primary asset that they own is Bitcoin on their balance sheet.
But MicroStrategy is significantly less efficient, right? Because it's trading, like if you were to enter it today, because it's trading at such a higher premium relative to like the Bitcoin holdings, or...
Yeah, but it also doesn't have the fee
fee itself
issue. And it's highly liquid, right? But again, what this is about is if you're a retail holder, right, you are sensitive to potential for appreciation in fees. The fact that the Grayscale product traded at a premium was just a market structure anomaly. Right. And that anomaly no longer exists.
Isn't it true that structured products with similar fees historically trade maybe at like a 8 or 10% discount? So if we were to assume that they continue, either they lower their fee and that could probably pull the discount up some, or we should at least...
They can't lower the fee in the trust structure, right? So they want to try to convert the trust into... Yeah, so they can try to convert the trust into an ETF. You know, I don't know if they'll be successful in that. But I think the primary challenge is, you know, number one, the demand just isn't there. Also, there were a shitload of shares that were created in Q3 and Q4 of last year, which are now coming to market. So, I mean, it's massive glut of supply, very little demand. I think the other thing is a lot of people who are underwater on that trade just
capitulated.
Like they're mad about it. I would be mad too, right? If I bought something at a 40% premium or 1200% premium on some of the, you know, less liquid products, that's not a great experience. And if that's your first exposure to crypto as a retail investor, you're probably not going to touch that product again, which is a shame.
Wasn't there quite a bit?
Where do the buyers for the product fit on the bell curve?
I mean, it depends on when you bought it and when you sold it, right? The other thing we need to be sensitive to that I think is interesting, that we don't talk about enough, with changes in US tax laws, one of the things I've been thinking about a lot in my own portfolio, like I'm a US citizen, I live in the United States, I live in the great state of New Hampshire, live free or die, baby. Woo! Like I'm all in on this. It's great here. But I think one thing people are becoming way more sensitive to is taxes. So when you look at assets you want to hold long-term, like I only buy stuff in my portfolio that I want to hold for at least a year or longer because I want that long-term cap gains, right? Income taxes are going to get jacked up on everyone. I don't care what the Democrats say. I don't care what the Republicans say. Like income taxes are going up across the board.
Yeah.
Right. And so the question becomes, you know, what do you do with your assets? What do you want to hold long term? I don't necessarily want to hold a product where I'm losing Bitcoin every year due to fee erosion. And again, that's not a criticism, but I think as people learn more about the construction of the product and how it works, there has been less and less appetite for the product because it's just really inefficient. The fact that that product still exists to me is like a really interesting thing. And for all of the talking that the SEC does about investor protections, like I just think it's very interesting that there's been a product in the market for so long that is traded at such a weird premium, and that an ETF hasn't been approved. Like
it seems to me that the ETF at this point would be far more protective of investors than the products that exist around it. If GBTC converted to an ETF, would they have the ability to adjust the fee then, or would they still have the fee but they have instant redemption capability in that circumstance?
I don't know how it would work, to be frank. I'm not sure of the mechanics of converting from trust to an ETF. The one of the big issues with an ETF, I think, is, or one of the big concerns historically, right, has been the concern around market manipulation. But the really interesting thing is just in the last 12 months alone, like Bitcoin markets have gotten so much deeper and so much more liquid that I think a lot of those concerns have been mitigated. But it'll be interesting to see, like a lot of people love to talk about Gary Gensler being at the SEC and having taught at MIT about blockchain. Like, I don't know what blockchain is as a subject, but okay. I think we have to remember that he comes from the CFTC. He was a commissioner there before he went to MIT. And then left obviously during the Trump administration because he was aligned with the Dems. But I think what's interesting is, like, I think a lot of what Gensler is going to focus on is market oversight because that's the world he comes from. So it'll be interesting to see. But honestly, I'm shocked that there isn't an ETF. Like Canada has ETFs. In Europe, we've had ETFs we've had ETPs, right, for the last 5 years. We've been doing this at CoinShares since 2015. Sorry, that's 6 years. So I just think it's a real shame that the US, which is the largest capital market in the world, can't get its act together on giving consumers like a safe, low cost, efficient way to get access to crypto. And then you look at what Goldman and Morgan Stanley are doing, like God bless them for trying, but charging someone 2 and 20 for actively managed Bitcoin exposure, which is basically Bitcoin beta. Like that's predatory at this stage. It's just silly.
Yeah. I agree.
So I'm short U.S. capital markets regulation.
I think that probably takes us into a decent potential conversation for both DeFi and maybe the way that you're looking at investing in DeFi. If you're short,
I love DeFi.
so you're long DeFi, short U.S. capital or banks, I guess.
Look, here's what I think the issue is, and it's not just the US, right? Here's what I think is really interesting. So we live in a world that's historically been defined by physical borders, right? So I'm sitting here at my desk, I'm looking at, like, what do I got over here? I have a passport, right? And this passport used to define what I could do, where I could go, like what monetary regime I was subject to, what tax regime I was subject to.
Make sure you don't like hold that up with the thing open, or somebody will like KYC as you on Binance. Yeah, sure. My name's Meltem.
That's really just what honestly, I just proceed on the basis that like my identity has been stolen thousands of times.
You might as well.
It's fine. But what's really interesting to me is like this little piece of paper used to define, how you moved around the world. We no longer live in a world that's defined by physical borders. I'm sitting here in New Hampshire. I don't know where you two are, right? But people who are watching this are all over the world. I talk to people and interact with people all day, every day. I don't know where they are. I don't know what jurisdiction they sit in, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right. The reality is in the digital world, like what physical part of the world you're in does not matter. Yet, we insist on regulating financial services on the basis of physical jurisdiction. So fundamentally, right, our approach to regulation based on physical perimeter is fundamentally incompatible with a global permissionless open financial system. These two things are incongruent and incompatible. So the question is, do we sit here, right, and like ask for permission from the US government to make these things compatible? Or are people going to keep building and move to friendlier jurisdictions to continue participating in this global marketplace? The trend that I've seen and the trend that I continue to see is people are going to go to jurisdictions where they can do what they want to do and participate in this global open permissionless financial market. And at the end of the day, the power of that global marketplace, right, is so much more powerful than any one nation state. Look at Facebook, right? Facebook is the single largest entity in terms of users in the world. Fully 50% of the world's population uses a Facebook product every single month, if not every single day.
Yeah, that's insane.
And that's where I think we live in a new paradigm. We used to think of nation states as the only superpowers in our world, and that's no longer the case. Corporations are superpowers. Apple, right? $2 trillion market cap. Microsoft, $1.8 trillion market cap. Like they have bigger market caps than
most
all
countries,
the cryptocurrencies, and most countries. And so what I think is crazy that nation states believe that they are the superpowers in our world. There's a new superpower emerging. And it's online communities. And that's what I think is so cool about Bitcoin. If you reconceptualize Bitcoin as a superpower, right? It's the first truly digital borderless nation state with a pseudonymous populace. Anyone can join it. Anyone can leave it and renounce their citizenship. But like Bitcoin is, for all intents and purposes, a global superpower.
Cobie, does that mean if we go full super cycle that up only is going to be a superpower?
Yeah, the up only treasury.
You're going to be
you need to make a
be
coin.
A dictator.
You need to make a dog coin.
I think in the very first dog pump cycle, we switched very quickly from dogs to cats, and cats outperformed dogs. And so far,
what were the cats? What were the cat? Oh, like crypto kitties?
There was a kitty coin in 2013-14.
Wow, digging deep into the archives of shitcoinery. Wow.
Yeah, straight after Doge was released, Doge went like 100x or something, and then Kitty Coin went like 170x.
Cobie tweets are like the original canon of shitcoinery.
Shitcoinery.
Yeah, and so now I rode Kitty Coin from like literally 0 to the top, and this time when the dog stuff happened, I missed out on all of them. I'm a failure. I'm a shadow of what I used to be.
But you know what my favorite dog coin is? I love all of the dog coins. It's actually not ass. There's a coin that's called Dog Elon Mars.
Oh, there's been some disturbing ones with Elon Musk's name on them.
What do we think Elon's plan is? Like, do we think he just loves attention, or what's the deal here?
At first, at first thought he was just drawing general attention to cryptocurrency by talking about this thing that's funny. Because if he was talking about Bitcoin this much, it'd be kind of weird, wouldn't it? Like he'd be like, it's a bit strange. But no one really questions it when he's talking about the Dogecoin. They just they laugh about it. They say, oh, weird eccentric billionaire. So at first I was like, he's just drawing attention to cryptocurrency generally. And then at some point he lost me and I was like, nah, I don't know what he's doing anymore. I've got no idea. No idea.
I think that he has he brought this up on the weekend update segment of SNL. Overall, SNL was not great with him on there, but there were a couple of points in weekend update that I thought were okay.
has never been great. Its heyday was in the late 90s, early 2000s. In the segment though, he talked about how essentially he didn't really feel like there was any difference between Doge and the dollar. So I feel like his embrace of Doge is more about a slap in the face to the dollar. Like there's really no difference in his mind in terms of like which one is real money. So it might as well be Doge because it's cuter. Like I think he just cares that little in regard to, he can just turn his nose up at it. He can afford to do whatever he wants. So why not embrace the most absurd possible story in this circumstance. And it's kind of what you want, right? If you want like your meme lord or whatever in your community, he's pretty much perfect for that.
Yeah, I remember when he was on that Clubhouse thing and someone asked him about it, why you keep talking about Dogecoin, and he said he liked like the confluence of it being created as a joke, and it would be like ironic if the thing that was created as a joke became the winner. And he liked I don't know, there was like some poetry in that or some shit.
Yeah. I think he would truly enjoy Doge being the official currency of Mars. I think that's the type of thing he would do.
Maybe he just simply likes the coin.
I mean, but look, this to me feels very like existential philosophy, where the philosophy here is like absurdism, right? Which is like, let's just take everything to its ultimate denouement, or like its end state, which is everything is ridiculous. So why play it out over like the course of several decades? Let's just do it all right now and embrace the absurdity of it all.
Yeah, he has a tweet actually to that point that I don't know if I'll be able to find, but it's essentially basically talking about things essentially just drive into whatever the most absurd outcome is, will be the outcome that happens. Which, I mean, our world pretty much points towards that across the board, right?
I mean, if I think about what's happened over the last 15 months that we've been in this lockdown, quarantine, whatever you want to call it, fastest roll up of power in, the last 500 years probably, or potentially human history. It's so funny to me that literally you'll let the government lock you inside your house. You'll let them force you to wear a mask. You'll let them erode your monetary base. But the minute they stop you from day trading shit stocks or shit coins, people lose their minds. It's really something else.
Yeah, so he said the most entertaining outcome is the most likely. There it is for the people on the stream. I just slap it in there. And
not wrong.
Yeah, I think he just might as well. He's like providing leverage to that outcome as the richest person in the world. Like just putting some muscle behind it.
Yeah. Look, it's funny. I just find it. I don't understand why like a bunch of random people in the crypto community feel the need to pile on to the Dogecoin thing. They're like, yeah, middle finger to Wall Street, hashtag Dogecoin. I'm like, can we not? Can we not? Like, you're a billionaire. Just stop.
So getting back to the DeFi conversation, how are you approaching DeFi or investments in DeFi?
Yeah, so what I think is really exciting, and frankly, our thesis has always been that you should be able to trade anything with anyone, any way in which you want, anytime you want, clear and margin how you want, and settle how you want. Like that has always been what's been so exciting about the first time I interacted with Bitcoin and what's happened in the 7 years since that moment. So I think DeFi is really the next articulation of that vision. The fact that we can take traditional commercial banking functions like lending and borrowing and make them global, permissionless, and interoperable via this like global unified OSS, right, is really fascinating. And so to me, DeFi is just the next step in the evolution from the capital market we've historically operated in, right? And if you are a nerd about market microstructure, which is an area I'm a nerd about, it's super fun, like why are markets structured the way they are? Really the world we've operated in historically is where financial institutions are built in a vertically integrated way, right? You have price discovery, trade execution, clearing and margining, which is basically borrowing against the trade and also providing instructions to the counterparties on either side of the trade. You have an intermediary doing that. Then you have the settlement component, and then you have the post-settlement sort of trade reconciliation where everything gets tracked and recorded. And that's all vertically integrated. And typically there's one firm that will capture all of that, or a small network of firms that will capture all of that in sort of a hub and spoke model where they sit at the middle, right? If we look at, for example, like the clearing layer, the OCC or the Options Clearing Corporation clears about 25% of all securities trades in the world. Right? It's huge, right? So the benefits here of scale and size have benefited a small number of institutions, but that stack, right, is really, really inefficient. And there's a ton of assets that don't fit within that structure, which is why we still have brokers and OTC markets and a lot of stuff that trades bilaterally. And that's where I started my career. I used to trade methanol and ethanol, and then I started trading carbon. I was brokering physical cargoes during the financial crisis, right? Like there's no marketplace or website you're going to go to trade like a tanker of ethanol, right? Sitting in the port of Rotterdam. So you work your phone. It's a really illiquid, like broker to broker market. So what's really interesting is there's a ton of stuff in our world that doesn't really have an efficient market because the markets aren't big enough for there to be intermediaries. So what's really cool about what's happening in crypto right now is all of a sudden, right, Bitcoin allowed us to trade bilaterally, right? So Cobie, I don't have to know who you are. All I do is provide you clearing instructions in the form of my public wallet address, and we can agree on a price via a messaging board or a chat app. We can share settlement instructions. We can settle the trade immediately from wallet to wallet. And the reconciliation, right, is on the ledger, right? There's public ledger where all of the trades are reconciled. So what I think is really cool is now that we have a bunch of different layer one protocols, or you have Bitcoin, you have Ethereum, you have all of these other layers. What I think is really interesting is we're basically just starting to build out all of these different things that we want to do with our assets, right? First thing we could do is buy and sell. Then people are like, wait a minute, I'm net long Bitcoin. How do I lever up, right? Like, how do I do fixed income? How do I do yield generation? How do I deploy more actively managed strategies? So then there's sort of this like progressive sort of layering that starts to happen as people start building these financial primitives. And then what's really cool, like what's starting to happen now, there's a bunch of really cool cross-chain stuff happening where you can now actually settle across chains, which I think is super profound. We have atomic swaps that allow for instant atomic like swap settlement, where you don't actually need to even trust your counterparty. You put the funds in escrow, you confirm the funds are in escrow, and then you swap at the same time. Because cash versus delivery, right, has always sort of been the issue, like who's going to go first on either side of settling the trade. So I think it's really, really cool that all of this stuff that we used to rely on intermediaries for is now happening on chain in a trustless manner. The other thing that's really cool that we don't talk about enough, that we definitely need to talk about more as an industry, everyone loves to talk about ESG in crypto, but only the E. And they forget the fucking S and the G. From a social equity perspective, if you think about the amount of racial redlining that happens and the amount of discrimination that's embedded in our financial system, where if you don't have one of these, you can't even open a bank account, right? The fact that there's now equality in terms of access and that anyone can participate in these markets and you can't discriminate against someone based on who they are in a DeFi protocol, that's profound in terms of social equity. The governance implications are profound. There's no longer one centralized institution making decisions about who can have what. So I actually think from an ESG perspective, crypto is 1,000,000 times better than traditional banking or than any other, existing sort of market structure we have. And so that's what we're building at CoinShares. Where we started was with trading. Then because we had the trading stuff figured out and we knew how to connect a traditional brokerage to crypto systems, we built exchange traded products. Then we started investing. Now we're building a bunch of really cool solutions in other spaces. And Q1 earnings come out on May 24th. If you join our investor call to go over Q1 earnings, you will learn more about our strategy for Q2. I'm not allowed to share it because that's considered material, non-public information.
That's funny. Do y'all go ahead?
Sorry, Ledger. I just read it. I was trying not to laugh because I just read in chat. Someone said, "I don't understand a word she's saying, but I am ready to follow her into battle."
May 24th. Join our analyst call. Yeah, and again, now that we're publicly listed, I just have to be careful about what I share that's not public yet. But rest assured, like the vision has always been, I want to trade anything with anyone at any time, on any venue I want, or not on a venue at all, clear and margin how I want, settle how I want, and the global reconciliation layer is the public ledger. Do you think
that what's included in that for the future, not necessarily what y'all's immediate plans are or anything, but is like on-chain yield strategies and stuff like that is only available in DeFi, but not via traditional systems?
Yeah, so I'll give you a little teaser. So we're investors in Enzyme Finance, which used to be called Melon Protocol. It's basically an on-chain asset management protocol where anyone can create an investment strategy and anyone can put their assets into that strategy. Right now, it's primarily Ethereum based, meaning the asset universe is sort of limited to things that are compatible with the Ethereum network. But obviously, with all of these cool cross-chain liquidity solutions coming out and cross-chain wallets coming out and wrapped assets that allow you to move assets across different chains through this wrapped construction, you can offer pretty comprehensive portfolio. But Avant-Garde Finance, what they allow you to do, or now Enzyme Finance, sorry, the names get all like confusing. What they allow people to do is anyone can create an on-chain portfolio, anyone can allocate into it. Now your ownership of the component of the NAV of that portfolio is represented by an NFT. Right. So there's like a unique token that this sort of signifies your ownership in that fund. You can own that now because I can put crypto in your IRA through choice. You can now own a tokenized fund in a retirement account because it's an ERC20 like token or an NFT. So I think there's a bunch of really cool stuff that's happening that we're still at the very starting points of. Again, for us, the really important thing is like the way we do that has to be robust. It has to be sustainable. It has to be scalable. So our sort of bar in terms of what we have to be able to do from a reporting and perspective and like financial integration, making sure everything is done properly is going to be a bit higher than like your average person who's just LARPing their MetaMask, right? Or aping their MetaMask. So for us, it just takes a little bit more effort to make everything work in kind of a transparent, trusted way. But to me, that's definitely the future. Like the fact that not everything is on chain is wild. The idea, like I haven't touched my brokerage account in months and months, except last month when I liquidated the entirety of it and moved it into crypto. I was like, what am I going to do? Like trade like Tesla in my Vanguard? Like, are you kidding me? I can't even do that. First of all, I can only buy Target 2050 date funds, but like, am I really going to put my money in a Target 2050 date fund that earns 3% yield, 3% like value a year?
Yeah.
So I was going to ask, how are you approaching? That's a bad idea. I was going to ask how you're approaching DeFi stuff, because like in the bull market, so many like it attracts so much attention and talent that the speed of development supercharges, right? So you have a bear market and you had a bunch of teams that were well funded or like maybe scraping through build like the foundation of DeFi Summer, and you had this big bull market, and then from DeFi Summer you launch like a developer, like it pulls in all these developers, a bunch of talent, and they start building stuff at high speed. And as the bull market continues, it just feels like the amount of pitches you get for like someone that's building something new, just
everyone's building an AMM, everyone's building a DEX. AMM's automated market maker, DEX is decentralized exchange. Like everyone's building a yield protocol. Like look, at the end of the day, Yeah, but the question is like, what is going to keep right now? The big thing is like, everyone talks about TVL or total value locked, right? And the fact of the matter is like the market has gone in the last 90 days, the crypto market has added $1.2 trillion in value. It's nearly doubled in the last 90 days.
Yeah.
So no shit, the TVL has skyrocketed, right? Again, it goes back to people delivering market beta and thinking they're geniuses. It's like, no, that's the market rate of return. You're not outperforming, you're actually underperforming the market because you're delivering a 9x when the market's delivering a 10x, right? So I think the thing that we look at in the DeFi space is like, yes, numbers are skyrocketing across the board, but it's because crypto numbers generally are skyrocketing, right? So what we have to look at, we have to strip away all of that and say, okay, what is the core functionality we're trying to achieve here? Like an automated market maker is incredibly valuable, right? Do we need to have thousands? Probably not. There will probably be a handful of them that will continue to persist and have 90% of the volume. And then there will be a long tail of like esoteric AMMs that like trade dog coins. Whatever, like name your niche here. And that's fine. But for me, I'm not going to invest in that long tail of esoteric things. I have to look at the world and figure out, okay, what do we think is actually going to persist in 12 months, 18 months, 24 months? Like what's actually solving a tangible need that I have in a way that's scalable and sustainable and works in a variety of different market conditions. So for example, Uniswap, right, has done a great job with that. So that's a product right there. I use Uniswap regularly. We don't really utilize it in our business today, but something like that is product I would love to use. Aave, product I would love to use, right? Has longevity, has proven their ability to innovate. They're rolling out some really cool stuff on the regulatory side as well. So what I'm really looking for, and right now our approach is investing, right? Partnering with and potentially building or buying together with new DeFi projects. And what we're really looking for is like what has longevity, what has the ability to scale, and what actually fits within to the existing market microstructure we have today. Like some ideas out there in the DeFi world are really futuristic, and 10 years from now, I'm sure they will be incredible and very successful. But what I've learned from 7 years of investing in this industry is success is also about timing. And sometimes you can have the right idea, but implement it at the wrong time. So that's another thing to sort of be mindful of is, you know, in DeFi, we want to go fast and break everything, but the rest of the world is still in a very different place. And so we're trying to find a way to implement these things that is still compatible with the world we come from and interact with a lot. Like if I'm trying to settle a trade with interactive brokers, right? That's just a very different proposition. And so like some of the things that people want to do in the DeFi space, just not necessarily going to work today with the way things operate. So there's sort of this timing challenge. And then it's also a lot of what I spend my time thinking about is architecture, right? So I take all of these different pieces and I piece them together. So for example, we're investors in Paradigm. They do workflow automation, and RFQ. So you can go on their platform and you can RFQ an option to the 120 brokers that are on their platform instead of emailing everyone individually. So you can get quoted by 120 different brokers on like a block trade or a custom option, right? A bespoke like OTC option contract. That's amazing. So we have the workflow component. You've price discovery and you've trade execution. Then at the clearing layer, we're investors in X Margin that's building a distributed clearinghouse. So instead of needing an OCC, right, who's aggregating everyone's positions and netting them at the end of every day and trying to track credit risk in the overall system of centrally cleared options and derivatives, you have an on-chain zero knowledge proof calculator, right, that can keep track of your net exposure across all of your different positions you have and provide a real-time risk reporting score or exposure score to your counterparties to help mitigate your credit risk. And then on the settlement side, there's a ton of really cool stuff happening. There's Fireblocks. We're not an investor in that, but we work a lot with Fireblocks. Fireblocks, for example, is allowing people to settle in sort of this really efficient manner. And so again, if you piece that together, all of a sudden you have an entirely on-chain trade lifecycle that you can construct without signing a single contract, without signing a single legal agreement, without sending a single fucking email, right? And that's really powerful. So what we want to do is start to find these pieces and put them together and integrate them into our workflow and then bring them to our clients. Yeah. Sorry, that's like a lot of complicated words.
It seems like some of that too blends on-chain with crypto, like centralized crypto platforms as well. It's like Paradigm, Anand, I think it's Anand at Paradigm. They're awesome. Like I've talked to him a good bit just about options, even though I can't trade.
And so smart, right? Like Anand was a trader for a long time. He traded in the energy industry. So he gets it, right? So he built something that uses the structural advantages of crypto to make a process he knows very well, like 1,000 times more efficient, which is awesome.
And there's so many of those things where like the crypto markets are pulling in some of the things that are more sophisticated from legacy, but they're also so much less like chained in versus what legacy is. And I think what they're doing in particular is really cool from a options perspective, because that's one of the from a derivatives perspective, like Deribit owns the market, but the options market doesn't near drive crypto the way that it does legacy currently as a percentage of overall trading.
But what I think is so interesting, right? So if you look at something like Paradigm, what I think is really interesting here is I think sometimes in crypto, because it's engineering driven as opposed to financial engineering driven, which is the world I come from, a lot of times we feel the need to reinvent the wheel. And like, there's a reason capital markets look the way they do. It's an evolution that happened over 600 years, right? And the reason it looks the way it does is like, with the tools we had and the technology we had, like this made sense. But some of the rules and policies we have in place are a result of like markets blowing up and people putting safeguards in place to prevent that from happening. So I think one of the mistakes we make in DeFi is sometimes we re-engineer, re-architect things in order to learn lessons that we've already learned like 50 years ago. And we're just repeating the same mistakes, but this time because like an engineer in Silicon Valley did it, it's somehow different. So I do feel like sometimes we just relearn the same things we already know, which is why history and reading and just like knowing market history in general is really helpful. And I think a skill in this industry. But we're going to go through our own mistakes, I guess, and going to make our own mistakes over and over again and beat our heads into the same wall, because I guess that's fun. And there's enough VC money to pay for it also. So.
Oh, that's a place I'd like to go, and I know we'll probably end there unless Cobie has more. But you've talked recently about how stupid VC stuff is getting, how frothy you've seen it get, and you talked earlier in the show about how ridiculous some of the VCs out there are. Can you give us some things to consider when you're doing venture capital and maybe some horror stories?
Yeah. Look, what I always say as an investor, like my goal at best is to have neutral impact on your company. I think in a lot of instances, like in the best of the best scenario, your investor will add value. Every investor likes to believe they add value, but I think like I hope to be neutral and not detract value. What's so crazy about this market is I watch VCs doing due diligence on these early stage projects that have like an 8-page pitch deck and an idea, right? And they do this, I think it's performance art at this point. I call the due diligence that these funds are doing performance art. It's like wild. It's wild to watch. And I talk to some projects I work with and I'm personally investing in, and they're like, don't you want us to walk through like the sensitivity analysis and like that? I'm like, no, like it's performance art. Like you don't know what's going to happen because you haven't built it yet. Like, are people asking you to do this? They're like, yeah, the DD is like really intense. I'm like, well, how? So I think there's a lot of, in crypto VC in particular, because it's in traditional VC, there's kind of a playbook, right? You know what the metrics are, you have an idea of what growth looks like for consumer, for B2B, for enterprise SaaS, like depending on the category you're investing in, you have an understanding of what the metrics should be, what the milestones should be, what go-to-market looks like, et cetera. When it comes to crypto, like the playbook goes out the window, number one. Number two, there hasn't been in a long enough period where people have been investing for there to be differentiation in terms of what investors are getting it and which ones aren't. And again, in environments where number go up, right, everything goes up. So I think it masks like true performance. And again, I could totally be a terrible investor, but I wouldn't know because I've only been investing for the last 7 years. And because everything in the industry has gone up, my portfolio inevitably is going to have more hits than misses, right? I think one of the challenges is there's so many VCs right now that are, I call them VCs, but they're not VCs, right? They're a loose collection of people who want to be investors. They like allocating capital, but the most important part of being an investor is not your capital, because capital is not a competitive advantage. Everyone has money, right? It's not your capital that people need. What people need is your time, your insights, your network, and your social capital. That's why people want me on their cap tables. It's not for my money. They don't need my money, right? What people want is your time and your energy. And I think that's where most crypto VCs fall flat on their faces. And it's a real shame because you see these companies giving up really significant amounts of their cap tables or giving up significant amounts of their token to get VCs on board for the value add, and there's zero value being added. In fact, what you have is value being detracted. And there's just way too much money in the space, right? And projects aren't raising at huge valuations. So as a result, you sort of also have this interesting phenomenon where funds just need to keep deploying. They can't get big allocations. So instead of making 10 investments, they're gonna make 100. And with a team of 4 people, you can't manage 100 relationships in an active manner. So I think that's where the challenge is right now, is like a lot of these projects effectively don't have real support from their investors. And I think that's really challenging. A lot of investors also just kind of throw capital at things and then sit back and check out. And I think people have this perception that investing is a lifestyle business, speculating is a lifestyle business, but investing is a really hard job. Like, you're on 24/7, you're there for your founders, you work for your founders. And I don't think that has happened in crypto quite yet. So I do feel really bad for entrepreneurs who believe that they're getting one type of deal when they're bringing in investors, and in fact get something totally different. But we'll see. I mean, this market's really irrational. It's not just unique to crypto. Again, it's also happening in traditional venture where valuations are just skyrocketing because people are looking for return. And right now there's not a lot of return in value. So people are going further out on the risk reward spectrum into growth. So like earlier and earlier stage, higher risk startup bullshit is getting way more competitive. I don't know, Money Printer Go Burr has introduced a whole new paradigm into the investing game. Yeah. I'm just happy that, you know, I learned how to venture invest in a time when things were still somewhat reasonable. Will that serve me well? I hope so, but maybe, you know, maybe I'm a boomer. I don't know. Highly possible.
Do you think that there's an additional dynamic in crypto VC now where projects that are, I don't really know how to phrase it in a polite way, but projects that are, you know, maybe D minuses. They're not a good project. They're just a random token. It's like they're worse than the dog stocks because at least the dog stocks go up. Like, at least the dog tokens, like they've got a meme inside them.
Up so only. Like, now I get the name of the show.
Yeah.
But like, you know, there's these basically shit token projects that have realized they can exploit the profit maximalism of high profile VCs by offering them a round that's so below book that like they'll invest. So like you can go to like a tier investor and say, I'll sell you $10 for $1. And that investor's going to say, okay, what's my vesting? And it's like, your vesting is 3 weeks, and the investor's going, great. But the token project doesn't give a shit because they can get money from anywhere. What they want is they want to come out and say, we've just been invested in by Up Only Ventures, to like signal to the market that, you know, this is a legit.
Not really.
No.
Wait, are you launching Up Only Ventures? And if so, can I be an LP? Okay.
No. Fun to fun.
Having LPs is a fool's game.
Wait. Let's talk about this. This is my new mantra. Being an institution of one is infinitely more fun than having LPs.
Yeah, if you have LPs, you've rugged yourself already.
But also the crazy thing is people used to get LPs because they needed capital leverage. You can get leverage like for really low rates in crypto. So
yeah, you just do a dog token and then rug it. There's your seed capital ready to go. Just call Crypto Spider 1 and be like, mate, we need a coin. Let's go.
Wait, is that the guy who makes the coins?
He's the dude that allegedly made one of the Elon coins that rugged.
Okay,
so how do-
Spider One.
Allegedly. Don't sue Ledger,
So-
please.
I'm so not in this I'm not in this world, so this is all new information to me, and I'm loving this tea.
You're doing a good job of not admitting that you are actually Crypto Spider One. You're like, oh, who's that? I've never heard of that pseudonym.
That is correct. This is actually not my real face. This is like an elaborate ruse I've constructed over the years to rug all of you.
We need the
It
chat
would
to
actually be epic. I wish I was that epic. I'm not that epic.
We need the chat to face swap Meltem to her real face for her rug personality. Crypto Twitter. You're the cat. You're
I don't.
don't do that.
I don't know if I want to see this.
So per the D minus question, Meltem, how do you approach that type of stuff?
Look, my view is this. So I talk to all sorts of projects. I have open DMs. Like, I love just chatting with people, and I get approached with a lot of really weird shit. I say no to a lot of things. And again, probably to my detriment when it comes to the size of my wallet. But you know, I like being able to sleep at night without fear that like someone's gonna shank me because they lost their life savings on a dog rug. But more importantly, like, you only get one reputation. You only get like one life. I don't want to spend mine like scamming people for money. Like, it's just not worth it to me. I don't want to play that game. There are a lot of different games you can play. There's a great book by James Carse, RIP, called Finite and Infinite Games. And I recommend everyone, it's like 60 pages. Anyone can read it. It's kind of a philosophy book disguised as like a player's manual. But in the book, there's this really interesting concept, and I'll use that to answer your question if you don't mind, Ledge. There's this really interesting concept that there are two types of games in life. There are finite games, and there are infinite games. In a finite game, the objective is to get a certain goal, which means you win, right? And in a finite game, you take on a role, and the rules of the game are sort of preset. And in my view, the type of deal you describe is a finite game. And winning a finite game, when it's done, and it's over. The game I want to play is not a finite game. I want to play the infinite game. And in the infinite game, the only objective of the game is to keep playing. It's not to win.
That's like League of Legends.
It's to keep playing.
Well, it's an addiction.
But in the game, what's really cool in the infinite game is the rules are constantly changing as your awareness and experience in the game changes. And so the role you play in the game starts to change. And eventually at a certain level, you get to create your own games within the infinite game, right? And this is what I think actually like Elon Musk is doing. Basically, if Earth is a simulation, right, and we're living inside of a simulation, or if you're playing this infinite game, what you want to do to maximize the joy of play in this game is to become the game maker, right? Or to get as close to the maker of the simulation as you can. And so to me, like, making a shitcoin and playing this very finite short-term sort of game, right? Honestly, I wheeled that toilet across downtown New York for like 5 blocks on a Sunday.
I couldn't help but think of this when you talk about the shitcoin games. Like, this was iconic.
I wanted to have fun, right? Like, I love having fun. I love a good joke. I'm a clown at heart. That was great. I think Charlie Lee took a selfie with the toilet, which I was like, wow.
Shout out past guest Charlie Lee.
Love Charlie. Best rug of all time. No disrespect. You know, good work. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Like, honestly, it's brilliant. Not a game for me, but brilliant. And so again, as I look at these like short-term things where like, yes, you can make a lot of money in a very short period of time, but it sucks, right? Or you can play this much more interesting game with a long-term time horizon with other long-term people. I want to do long-term shit with long-term people who are doing interesting things because that makes my experience better. I don't want to pump and dump shit coins. It's just not, it doesn't bring me joy. It's not fun. It's not intellectually engaging. And maybe I'm giving myself too much credit here. Like, again, I don't know where on that scale on the bell curve I am. But that's not my objective. So I think you have to know what game you're playing. Some people love shit coining. And I'm like, you go, Glen Coco, like, go off, do your thing. It's not for me. I want to play a different game. And that makes my experience like so much more fun. So not for me.
Where does the EOS Block 1 $10 billion raise fit on the infinite to finite game scale?
I mean, what they did is like they took the EOS treasury. That's where the 10 billion came from.
Yeah, and just entity hopped it.
Like a self-raise.
Well, what EOS did is EOS raised money and basically created a massive multi-billion-dollar hedge fund using the money that the community gave them. Like all of these foundations, right? It's the new university endowment is a protocol foundation, right? University endowments are just hedge funds masquerading as institutions of higher learning to get tax benefits. I mean, it like to the point, right? Like if you have LPs, you've cucked yourself. The EOS hedge fund doesn't have LPs. It's brilliant. Honestly, I wish I'd thought of it myself, but I didn't.
It's a fair take.
Yep.
I mean, don't hate the player, hate the game, right? The game is the game, and like you got to play it in the ways that you know how. But there's certain games to me that aren't worth playing, and maybe I'm a simpleton, you know, and that's fine.
The chat says you're not a simpleton. They say you're firmly on the right side of the curve.
The chat specifically quote is based Chad.
Yeah, you're a base chat.
I mean, I definitely have issues. I engage in behavior that is not fiscally sound with my own capital. I have a lovely CFO who just, you know, tells me yes and no. But yeah, look, but I think some people are traders and some people aren't. I love risk. I love it. I love chaos. Like if it's fucked up, if it's messy, if it's weird, if it's chaotic, like I'm all in. I love that. That's where I want to be. Some people do not like that. They should not trade crypto. They should buy the Grayscale product or an ETF and put it in their 401k, right? And just chill.
Yeah. So
you just got to figure out what works for you. Not everyone's a degen.
As a lover of chaos, I'm assuming to date you are still the only person ever who's been asked about shitcoins by Congress. And you can't hear this, but you know what it says. This is actually one of the most popular videos I've ever had on my YouTube channel because I snipped your response to him asking you about shitcoins. But can you tell us about this experience? What was it like just getting asked about shitcoins by Congress?
Yeah. I mean, that's my face. I'm like trying to hold it together.
Yeah, you're like, absolutely. The idea here about shitcoins is
No. I didn't talk about shitcoins. I only talked about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to remember.
You handled it really well.
Look, my only objective going into that hearing, and massive shout out to Jerry Brito and Robin Weissman at Coin Center. I got the call on Friday asking me to testify on a Tuesday. Didn't really have a lot of time to prepare my written response. So I spent all weekend like writing my 17-page testimony and trying to come up with a script for the 5-minute testimony. And then the Q&A is just on the fly. But one of the things that was really important to me in context for the hearing was a hearing about Libra, right? And really what I wanted to get across is like there's Bitcoin and then there's everything else. And what we really need to get across to members of Congress, who, mind you, like the average member of Congress is age 65. They don't know how to use email.
The Brad Shermans of the world.
You know, and Warren Davidson, by the way, who's the congressman from Ohio who asked me that question, he's pretty based. Like he gets it. Congressman McHenry, whose office had invited me to testify, very based, right? Like they get it. They believe Bitcoin should coexist alongside the dollar. Like I would say they're on the more pro technology, pro crypto side of Congress. And then you have people like, you know, Sherman, Maxine Waters and others who are staunchly anti-Bitcoin and dollar only and just very different view. But what was really important to get across in that testimony, and the only thing I wanted to focus on and really talk about is why Bitcoin was so different from everything else out there that calls itself Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or the next Bitcoin. And to really emphasize that like Bitcoin is the most American thing you could possibly imagine. Bitcoin is so American, it's not even funny.
Yeah, I like that.
And I needed people to walk away from that hearing understanding, first of all, Bitcoin is not just a bunch of scammy dudes on the internet. There's also degenerate clowns like me, like putting the clown makeup on. That would have been epic if I like went into Congress with clown makeup on.
It was me
pretty
before
epic
I
anyway.
post a tweet. Me before I post a tweet, I pick up my phone, I put the makeup on, and I write it.
But look, in that moment, right? No one represents the crypto community, and certainly I would never think that I speak for any community because Bitcoin has no spokespeople. That's the whole point. But I just wanted it to be really, really clear that Bitcoin is so fundamentally different from everything else. And so I just tried to really be serious, but also to be forceful, right? Like I interrupted people. I was like, that's actually incorrect. Like there's so many misperceptions, so many factual inaccuracies about Bitcoin 12 years fucking later that still persist. I'm like, honestly, read a motherfucking book, people. Like do the bare minimum to educate yourselves. And people don't. They don't know jack shit and they don't care. The only thing they care about is their narrative. And we can fight narrative with facts, but we really need to fight to win hearts and minds, right? And so again, it's like, what do you do in that situation? I'm not going to sit there and fucking talk about shitcoins. I'm just going to try to be professional and be like, okay, but let's talk about Bitcoin, because that's the whole point of the testimony, is to walk away and be like, okay, Bitcoin good, Libra not Bitcoin.
Not so good, yeah.
No, not good, just not Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Different thing.
Cobie, what else do you have?
I saw in chat when you said there's Bitcoin and there's everything else, there was a few Ethereum people that were
Cobie included.
No, I love Ethereum. No, I love Ethereum. Ether's great. I have Ether in my portfolio, but it's not Bitcoin.
I think it not being Bitcoin is often a good thing, though. Like when you say it's not Bitcoin for everything else, in my head I'm like, that's qualifying it as like a bad thing.
No.
Like,
But again, you have to remember, right? In that particular context, right? When you're sitting with members of Congress, you have to keep it very high level and very simple, right? If I start throwing out Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, right? Like insert favorite protocol here, insert bags here, that's not going to work. You have to keep the message at that level of audience. You have to keep the message simple, right? I get a lot of shit when I go on CNBC. Like the other day I was on CNBC and I talked about Ethereum. And all the Bitcoiners freaked out and they were like, oh, like you're the devil, Meltem. And I was like, guys, when you go on broadcast and you're talking to a large audience, they don't want to hear you shill your fucking bags. They
Unless
want
it's
you
up
to
only
talk
TV.
Yes. Or a dog eat coin, but hopefully one I create. Like Spider Guy, I'm coming to find you. We're doing a dog coin. And then we're going to, I'll chill it everywhere. I'll go to Congress and be like, let me talk about my dog coin. It's better than Bitcoin. No, but look, in that audience, Congress has no idea what Bitcoin is. If I can get them to understand what Bitcoin is, like a year later, you can talk to them about Ethereum. But you have to start with like the simplest thing. And the simplest thing for people to get is Bitcoin. That's like step one down the rabbit hole. Step two is, okay, let me explain Ethereum, right? Step three is like, let me explain this whole world of cryptocurrencies, but you can't feed them the entire like smorgasbord of like crypto all at once. You have to be very intentional, and you have to remember people have a limited capacity to retain information. You have to say the same thing 20 times for it to sink in.
Yeah.
So you have to be mindful, and like, again, the level at which I'm trying to communicate, I have to be really mindful of meeting people where they're at. In that context, like people can't even spell Ethereum. It's not the right audience, and it's not the right setting for that conversation.
Yeah, I also think it takes a few cycles to sort of cross the chasm of credibility, and I think Ethereum is only now doing it really, because like until this cycle and like maybe some point last year, maybe like middle late 2019 for people that stayed real deep in the space, but it's only just now that people are going, oh wait, there's like real stuff built on this. It's not all just flying car token from 2018.
But again, like Cobie, let's be real, like things take time, and I do think that we need to give credence to the fact that Bitcoin was the first, and no other asset will be like Bitcoin. Like no other asset has Satoshi, no other asset has no foundation. Like Ethereum is a very different thing. It's incredibly valuable. Like I said, I hold Ethereum. I have a lot of, belief in Ethereum and its place in the pantheon of cryptocurrencies, but it isn't Bitcoin. And I think in order to articulate to people and help them understand the concept of cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin is sort of the first and the original, right? It's sort of like the Old Testament with like the angry God. Like Old Testament God is gnarly, like he's whack. New Testament God's like cuddly and cool. Old Testament God's like real uncool. So you sort of have to start there. That's layer one.
Oh man.
And again,
Wait, so layer 1 is the Bible, and layer 2 is like Harry Potter?
No, I think she said layer 1 is Old Testament.
yeah, like angry God.
Layer
like
2 is New
vengeful God.
Testament.
Wait, I thought you were saying Bitcoin was Old Testament and Ethereum was
I don't
New
know.
Testament.
My metaphors are getting mixed. But all I'm trying to
I feel like
say
it was
is,
a dangerous road to go down.
Wait, I was finally getting it. I was like,
No,
yeah,
no,
it makes sense now.
it's a bad road. I'm not religious, so I don't want to offend
Who is
anyone
Paul
who,
in
like,
this scenario?
I mean,
Oh, yikes. But look, again, the only thing I want to say is I think a lot of times, like, I don't understand why Bitcoin people are still so angry about Ethereum, but at the same time, I don't understand why Ethereum people like can't get over the fact that Bitcoin exists. I'm like, just chill. Like, why does it have to be A or B? It can be A and B, and they're two very different things. And again, maybe the tribal warfare is like part of the process, but I find it silly in a way. It's like, why? It's just a not good use of energy.
Yeah, my experience is that there isn't like a multi-directional a tribal warfare, but if you talk about Ethereum, you're immediately called like a scammer, and that puts you into a sort of defensive stance where you're like, well, I don't think it's a scam, and then by saying that, you're like...
But who's calling me a scammer? Like someone who lives in their mom's basement?
Well, that's like all our followers.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got 300,000 of them following me.
Well, Cobie, I just start with the assumption that everyone on the internet hates me, and that's like usually a pretty good assumption, and then it's fine. Like, who cares? You're not someone until somebody hates you. Actually, which brings me back to something I'm looking for a new arch nemesis. Every arch nemesis I've ever had in crypto has turned out to be complete just pussy and folded when the stakes got high enough. So if anyone wants to be my arch nemesis, I'm taking applications.
Before you gave these qualifications, I was going to say it was Gainsey.
Yeah. He's not up to it.
I need a worthy
He doesn't fit the
adversary.
qualifications. He doesn't fit the
Yeah, you're
requirements.
saying they're not worthy. You demolished all of your previous enemies.
I just think I find it's fun to have someone that you like banter with who's always anti, and you just like, have that dynamic.
What about Udi?
I love Udi. Udi's
He's good.
hilarious.
Okay. He's good.
It can't be Udi then. You can't be friends with this person.
Udi is like the person who holds the mirror that reflects your own clown makeup back to you. Because people on crypto Twitter will be all like high and mighty, and then Udi will just be like,
Hello.
look into my mirror. And you look and your face is full of clown makeup and you're like, fuck, that's good. That's Udi. I think there's like a clown who did that, right? In like mythology, he would hold up the mirror and then you'd be like, shit, I'm a clown too.
Oh man.
Damn it.
I don't know. There's got to be a hash mask of that clown.
Oh.
Wait,
what about a punk?
A crypto
Or a
punk?
Meebit? What's a Meebit? Can someone explain a Meebit?
Bullish on Meebits. Buy my Meebits.
A Meebit is a cash grab. A cash grab by Lava Labs.
Quit funding my bags.
Cash
Wait,
grab by Lava Labs in order to profit.
It's a 3D version of Punks where they raked in like $80 million along the way.
Okay,
yeah, so look,
if they wanna,
Lava Labs.
I'll pay for a Meebit that's a clown that holds up a mirror, and then you're like, I'm a clown too.
There you go.
Lava Labs, I will give you money. You can take my money.
A Meebit, yeah, someone in chat just said Meebit is a middle of the bell curve punk. That is exactly what it is. It's like you know, they didn't make enough money off punks because like they made loads of millionaires off punks. They made this like crypto cultural moment, but they didn't make no money.
They didn't profit off it. They did it dumbly. They didn't do it smartly. Yeah.
Oh, they did because they waited for like the froth of a bull market to sell a new 3D version for $80 million. So maybe that was just 4D.
Hold on. I actually think the ultimate at this game is TopShot.
Yeah, but they're like super diluted. Like it makes no sense with the way they're approaching it in my mind.
But it's hilarious.
Oh yeah, I mean they're making loads of money off of it.
It's still going nuts. I also like that the TopShot CEO's got like one of the top 10 like wallets. It's like such strange optics. Is like he bought a rare pack and he got a rare card.
I got so lucky.
Yeah, I like that. I just think that's like buying your own product. Is like on one hand it's cool, on the other hand is like he's doing really well.
Yeah.
I just think we deserve better villains, you know.
Yeah.
What about that one that they're like digital horse racing? What was that one?
Zed horses.
Oh.
Zed Run.
Yeah. I never got into that.
Yeah, I think that one's actually doing really well. I think the unfortunate thing in the NFT landscape is like, and I don't know, maybe it's their own hustle, so it's fine. But anybody with an audience essentially can create something and let it fly, and pretty much assuredly it's not going to really carry a lot of long-term value, but it's a nice cash grab in the meantime.
But again, right, I think we forget one important fact, which is that in order to have a market, you need two things. You need a seller, which is your creator in this case, but you also need buyers.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, right, everyone's crypto rich, right? Ether's at 4,000, Bitcoin's at 60,000. Like people have made boatloads of money. So what used to feel like a lot of money to people where they would have been like, oh, I'm never spending $5,000 on like a dumbass NFT, or I'm not spending 5 million on like a punk. Now they have shitloads of money. So the inflation that you see in prices in the crypto landscape are also sentiment of the fact that in the last 90 days, the market cap of all crypto assets has doubled. So the amount of discretion and like common sense that people are using is like basically at zero.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, you know, when
which is kind of awesome because a lot of really dumb stuff is happening. And I'm like, I'm just here for the spectacle. You know?
There's a massive dunk on Keyboard Monkey. That was a massive dunk on Keyboard Monkey.
Shout out Keyboard Monkey, friend of the show.
Dude, the dude is like, he's like one month he's like, I've just spent 700 ETH on trying to gamble these like Meebits, and then in 1 month he's gonna be like selling Meebits below market trying to get liquidity. And then 3 days later, I've just bought 7 new Beeples. I think you've got an addiction, Keyboard Monkey. You need to put the laptop down.
No, but look, this is not unique to crypto. What has happened in other crazy markets? People started buying rare art. In the last month alone, sports collectibles have sold at all-time highs, right? The way I articulate Bitcoin sometimes is I call it the Honus Wagner of money. Like for all you sports nerds out there, you know the Honus Wagner baseball card's like the rarest card out there.
Me and Cobie are like, what?
You're not baseball fans. I'm not a baseball fan.
What is baseball?
I like collectibles. Anything that involves making money, I'm into it. I like know all about it.
Sicko Mode in the chat is very impressed with your Honus Wagner shout out.
I got you, Sicko Mode. What up? Great song also. If you're a Travis Scott fan, we can be friends.
Sicko Mode just thinking, she said her DMs are open.
No. So I have a proposition. Me, Sicko Mode, and Keyboard Monkey are going to get together. We're going to drink some 40s of Old English.
Old English. Good Lord. You're going to play Edward 40 Hands.
We're going to call up Spider Monkey 1, and we're going to make a new coin.
I like how you added monkey to his name. He's Spider Monkey now.
Spider Monkey and Keyboard Monkey and Sicko Hands.
What's his spider?
It was just Spider Crypto. But Spider Monkey, that's he's Spider Monkey now.
Okay, so the four of us, guys, hit me up. So Sicko Mode, Keyboard Monkey, Spider Crypto.
Can we just be there to commentate?
Yes.
We'll just observe. I don't think we're cool enough to participate, but we'd love to observe.
You know
yeah.
how
I just
they
want
have
to.
those shows that are like the making of a murderer? This can be like the making of a shitcoin.
I just want the seed round, and if the vesting's any more than 3 weeks, I'm out.
We'll do 2 hour vesting.
Yeah,
2 hour
sounds good.
vesting. That's a long hold.
Actually, no. We'll do a pre-vesting where we'll call it a direct listing.
It's like counting as time served. It's like we negotiated this deal for a long time, so that's got to count into my vesting period. Oh
Yeah.
man.
You know,
Yeah, yeah.
pre-vesting's going to be a thing now. Like you see it, and someone sat at home and just gone, wait, pre-vesting, genius.
Gotta tell our community members this pre-vested for at least a year.
Yeah, I'm not dumping. I pre-vested. Correct.
Yeah. You're providing liquidity, like Dan at CMS likes to say.
Yeah, correct. You guys, but this is why I love this market. Like, I love it. Can you imagine doing anything else with your life? So I recently attended a meeting with people who work in a bank, and I was like, how do you do this job? Like, how? Like, they were wearing suits in their own homes. I was like,
Yeah. The dressing up
they're
for
like,
Zoom
we have
meetings
to
thing.
we have to wear a suit for our Zooms. I was like, what?
Do you think they wear the
What?
top? They do the top half of the suit, like your outfit from earlier.
I'm wearing pants, okay?
You're wearing pants.
I'm wearing pants today.
We've accomplished a lot in crypto if we're wearing pants today.
But this is where I actually think like it'll be really interesting to see what happens as crypto markets keep going up. Like, I love this story that came out on Monday about this Goldman partner in London who was like, I quit because I made hella money on Dogecoin. He's like a Dogecoin multimillionaire. He's like,
Oh yeah,
I
the Goldman
quit.
guy.
Yeah.
The Goldman guy. Yeah, he was like quite senior as well.
Yeah, he was like a global MD of emerging markets, and he was like, peace. I got Doge, peace.
That's awesome.
And honestly, this is what the crypto community deserves. Those are the headlines I want to read in my newspaper.
He didn't just peace out as well. He peaced out and then launched a hedge fund.
Wait, why did he launch a hedge fund? That's dumb.
That's what he did. He's like straight out. He's in his Dogecoin hedge fund now.
It's a meme coin fund.
Wait, really?
No, I don't know.
Yeah,
you know
well,
those
that's
are gonna
what
pop up though.
I read that he's launched a fund. So like, if he's made it on Doge, you got to ponzi it into new dog money.
Chat wants him on the show. So
Yeah, get that dude. That got like, but it's happening all across the board. Like, I had a friend who worked at a bank. He's been there for 20 years, had a great job, and he was like, I was having a conversation with him. I was like, do you realize that you're richer than every person you interact with? He was like, no. I was like, yeah, it's he's like, oh, I go to these meetings and I have these like standing calls and I have to wear a tie. I was like, why? Like, you work in your house during a global pandemic. And he was like, you make good points. I was like, why do you do this? Because it's crazy, right? You're going to spend 30 years working at a shot to maybe like be in a senior role, and you're going to be forced to wear suits to meetings and like make slides and have meetings about meetings to prepare for meetings. Like, who does that? Why are we doing that?
Yeah. Even it being in your house, like when you go to the office, it doesn't even improve the quality of your thinking or the quality of the work. If you all look the same, it doesn't help the work do better. Like, banking hasn't been improved because everyone looks smart when they went to work.
North Dallas 22 in the chat. He's probably sitting in a Zoom call right now, muted with up only in one ear, wearing a suit on the top half, and he says, "Thanks for reminding me how much I hate my job."
Yeah. If you want to work in crypto, everyone is hiring. Give me a shout. I do think there is this question of like, what are you doing with your time? Do you want to play the finite game, or do you want to play a more interesting game?
It is actually a good point. If you were someone in chat and you wanted, you've had a serious career or started a serious career and you're considering whether that was a good choice or not, or maybe you're at uni or finishing uni, college or whatever you call it, wherever you are, and you're thinking of like entering the real world and starting a career.
What's
What
the real
sort of-
world?
Like when you're not in education anymore and you're not partying
Okay.
all the time as a sport, I guess. But like, what would you like? How would you go about entering crypto? What would you do to like get a start in crypto today? Would you, because like we've established that we're going to launch our own dog money rug, but maybe not everyone wants to do that.
There's no we here. You and Ledge are going to be allowed to sit in on the meeting and commentate, but the project belongs to me.
That's really good for me from a regulatory point of view. Like, I'm glad we've got that on video.
Yeah, this is me, sicko mode, spider crypto, and keyboard monkey.
That's right. It's good memory. Wow. Just
Yeah.
that like if that was the IQ test assurance there, like far right side of the curve, just the recall. I wouldn't have been able to do it.
have like, wait, what is the thing with people saying they're neurodivergent? Is that like I have mental problems? Is that what that means?
I have no idea. I don't know what that means.
What?
Because, you know, Elon Musk on Saturday Night Live was like, oh, I have like mild Asperger's. And then people were like, oh, everyone who is smart is neurodivergent. I'm like, do we have mental problems? Correct. Like everyone who works in crypto has a slight
something
mental
wrong with you.
problem. Yeah, mine is probably quite severe. I have like a very good memory and I'm obsessive and high tolerance for risk, but also degenerate. So like long laundry list, but now people have like a fancy term for it. It's called neurodivergent, which is like you're not in the normal part of the bell curve. You're in like a weird many standard deviations on the bell curve. But there's like a term for it and people are like, yeah, all good founders and all good investors are neurodivergent. I'm like, can we not glorify mental illness? Like it's real. Stop it. It's bad. Anyways, sorry. This is now turning into what grinds my gears, by the way.
No, that's good. That's fine. It's a good podcast.
You guys, I
RIP.
miss it.
Bring it back.
That was, it's a lot of work.
No, you can't spoil it there. It's easy. This is the easiest thing that we do, you know? You just, here's what you needed, Meltem. You needed me to produce the show. Then you just show up like Cobie.
No. So Jill and I would spend like 5 to 6 hours writing a script and prepping notes. I would do a lot of
she's doing it
research
all
as
wrong.
well.
Cobie, we need to reverse the roles here. We need to reverse the roles.
Yeah.
You just show up and you talk and you don't prepare. Cobie was like, what are we going to talk about today? It's like, I don't know. Let's let Meltem figure it out.
The thing is, you got to think about the people listening and what the people listening want to know. And they just want to know the same things that we want to know. So if you do preparation, you're actually rugging the audience. If you do prep and you ask like stuff and the audience like, wait, I don't even know what they're talking about. You just got to be like, so like, what's crypto? And they're like, I was wondering that. And they're like, thank you for asking.
Is there anything else the audience wants to know? We've gone on for a while, so I feel like they're probably getting bored. Sorry.
Oh, they don't get bored. They don't get bored. But they want Cobie. They probably want the alpha question, I guess.
All right, let's do 3 questions from chat, and then I'll ask the alpha question, and then we can let you go on your way to back to the real world.
While you look for questions, go ahead.
I can't ask any of the questions that have been posted so far.
Well, while you look for questions, I was going to mention about the job thing because I've actually done this, right? Like a lot of people that work in this space or I come from the web space didn't like get a degree in that or whatever. So I did a degree in engineering. But I had to figure out like how am I going to work on the web full time, and then now like how do I figure out a way to make some money and do stuff in crypto? I generally think whatever you've been trained in or whatever you've like found a passion for in life, you can probably figure out how to be valuable to a business or to create your own business doing what you're good at. And I think people tend to think like, oh, well, I have to learn something brand new. When in reality, if you're a good middle manager in corporate America, you might be a pretty good middle manager in like a crypto startup, you know?
Yeah, but I think the other thing actually that I would say, Ledge, is one of the mistakes I've made in hiring, there's certain jobs that need certain qualifications, right? Like if you're hiring legal counsel, like they should have a law degree.
Yeah.
Because that's a very specific skill set. But a lot of roles in crypto don't necessarily have a defined skill set. And what I have learned from making a lot of hiring mistakes and then hiring some really great people, I can teach anything. Anyone I think can learn anything, right? Most people will figure it out. What I can't teach is passion, enthusiasm, and like attitude.
Right.
And if you are the type of person who can just figure things out or will run face first into a wall, which basically my first 3 years at DCG, just for context, everything looks cool now. For 3 years, I was basically broke. I was in debt. And every day I would go to work. There was no playbook. I had no idea what I was doing or what was going on, or there was no like manual for how to do any of this. So I just wake up every morning, super excited to go to work and run into like face first into a brick wall or get punched in the face. Like just utter defeat every single day, right? And I learned 1,000 ways that things don't work. And then you kind of figure out what does work. So I think just be excited, show up, do the work, like be willing to get punched in the face a lot and you'll be fine. But I think a lot of people just don't want to take risks. Like they want to get the reward, but they don't want to take the risk. And unfortunately, that's not how it works.
Yeah. And I agree with that. When I was saying like, if you're a good middle manager, you can be a good middle manager. The thing that you're required to do on top of that is like that basic personality, curiosity, ability to communicate, passion for the venue.
Yeah.
If you can do those things, you can take your existing qualifications and find a gig in the realm that you're passionate about.
Totally. And my DMs are open. I don't always respond to everything, but I always try to help or make suggestions or make introductions. And then there's a ton of great job boards as well. So like Pomp has one, CoinDesk has one. The Graph just started one for Web3 jobs. So like there's a ton of resources. All it takes is a little bit of initiative, or just post on Twitter, be like, I want to do this in the crypto industry. Yeah. And then just tag all of us and we'll figure it out.
Yep.
I've seen a few people do that, like some like meme joke accounts I follow posted like, I want to get a job in crypto, and then I DM'd them about it and like sent them the companies I invested in that are hiring, and then like 3 weeks later they've got an offer from like Solana, an offer from like the Graph, an offer from FTX, and like it happens pretty often. And like if you are an investor in crypto, you will know now the number one problem that every portfolio company has is there's not enough good people. Like everyone's trying to hire, and the talent is like all the great people who've been in crypto for a while are impossible to hire now. Like they're deep in a project, they founded their own project, or they're incredibly
they're
picky.
not motivated. Yeah, they're not motivated by money anymore either, right?
Yeah.
Like they're motivated by passion. But yeah, there's a ton of open roles. The other thing is we have to grow talent within the industry, right? You can't always be hiring from other industries. So I'm actually very willing to hire people from non-traditional backgrounds. I think everyone is.
Yeah.
Cobie, did you find some questions?
3 questions. What do we got?
I got 3 questions. The first one, I wanted to ask it. I saw someone ask it, and I wanted to ask it as well. Do you believe in the supercycle?
What's the super cycle?
We found a non-listener.
Suzu believes that we're breaking the traditional 4-year cycle of crypto. And if you look at the Amazon chart from like 1990,
I did the Amazon chart analysis. Yeah.
And just up forever basically. And we're beginning now.
I wouldn't articulate it as a super cycle. The way I articulate it is there's cycles and then there's secular trends. Crypto has its own cycles, but the secular trend is up only. Right. And secular is just a fancy way of saying like over a long time horizon. So again, this is where duration
always sounds so good though.
Secular, right?
Yeah.
It makes you sound smart.
Yeah.
So there's right, and this is actually like for the nerds out there, I love calculus, right? It's weird. So it's like the difference between a local maximum and a global maximum. We've hit local maxima along our way, but we're not even close to hitting like the global maximum, right? Which is the highest point we'll reach. That's in my view, like 10, 15 years out, and maybe it will never come, especially if money printer keep growing burr, at which point like the numbers just get crazy. But I think placing where we are within any one specific cycle is a poor use of time. It's really placing bets to participate in the larger secular cycle that we're going through, right? Secular trend line. And so again, that's why I always love talking to newbies about Bitcoin and Ether and things that have been around for a while, because in that secular trend, those things are inevitably going to do very well and lead the market. There will be other things that are more esoteric and further out on the risk reward spectrum that outperform, right? But from like a time versus effort versus ROI perspective, allocating to Bitcoin and Ether for most people is, enough. And then there's obviously like a long tail, but that's much higher risk, requires more active management. So not necessarily super cycles, but I think I definitely talk a lot about the secular trend, and the secular trend is up only. And the capacity for crypto to absorb capital is infinite, right? Because everything in life is a market. We just haven't had the tools to turn everything in the world into a financial asset, but I will not rest until everything in my life is a financial asset.
The only thing I don't like about that is BitClout. Like, everything else I agree, but when you like tokenizing people, like that's, then I start to feel sad.
You just don't like the implementation of BitClout. I think the idea was good, but Idea Market did it better and is doing it better. BitClout is just a really shitty, like, scammy implementation of an idea that's actually really good.
Yeah, but I mean, that is also true. It is extremely
Dude,
scammy.
my market cap is the same as 1 Bitcoin. I'm going to rug my profile on BitClout.
No, you can't. You can't sell. You can't get your money out.
I know you can. You can do OTC. I rugged my profile on OTC sold.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. What am I worth? I don't know.
Let me see. I'll look for you.
I think I'm banned now. I also got banned from Angel List for I leaked deal flow. I leaked deal flow about a BitClout fund that was like going to pump and dump celebrities.
Meltem, you put me to shame. You're worth $215,000, so that's what, like 4 Bitcoin, roughly?
Yeah, a little less.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can rug your profile for 4 times what I can rug my profile for, which is typical.
I can rugging my own profile is 250K, 210K.
That's the total market cap. I think you have to have the creator coins. So
yeah, you'll have like about a third of that or something.
Yeah, you have $107,000 worth. So you have 2 Bitcoin worth of yourself. Yeah.
Just dump it.
That's like a lot of effort.
Yeah.
You just got to announce you're going to dump it beforehand. Then it's fine.
Wait,
that's what the regulators say. That's what the regulators say. As long as you announce your dump within 30 seconds before a dump, it's fine.
This is actually true. I can file the little piece of paper that's like, "Hi, I plan to dump all of my."
So that brings us on to the next question, which I've lost now because the chat's moved too fast. But it was about regulation and the upcoming regulatory landscape and changes in regulation.
No. Let's not talk about regulation. It's boring.
Okay.
Sorry to whoever that was. I think it was like WickMex or someone. They said your question's boring. I'm not
a regulator. I don't make rules. Like, I'm not a bean counter, right? I'm an operator. I like making things happen. So to me, regulation is like, how do I minimize friction by operating in a manner that minimizes the regulatory footprint, which doesn't mean, like, we have to be really careful about what we do because we are regulated in so many different markets. But the future of financial markets is not building like the most regulated mousetrap. So I think a lot of times in this industry, people are like, oh, we're institutional because we have like 8,000 licenses. And I'm like, I'm not sure that's what that means, but okay. So yeah, the regulation question, I get it. But at the same time, I just don't think regulators get it at all. And
yeah. They just play the long game. They just be regulators long enough to then go get a job at Ripple.
Or Binance.
It is true, especially US regulators. EU regulators have written some like very good guidelines that I'm like, yeah, these sound sensible. But they don't.
Which EU regulators are you talking about?
The paper that came out in like February.
The MICA paper?
Oh.
No, there was one. I'll send. I'll put it in the show notes because I talk to some guys from Hogan Lovells quite often.
Cobie?
Well, they helped out on some previous projects, and they come to me and say like, we're considering this, or like one of our clients, which might happen to be a government, is considering this. Like, is this practical? And I'm like, no, no, that's not going to work. And I'm like, what about this instead? And then they go away. And they sent me some like good stuff. I'm like, that seems like reasonable, well thought through.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, like, people are mobile, capital is mobile, as we see from the fact that most US corporations are offshored for tax purposes, right? Like, people and capital are mobile. The mistake that nation states make is believing that this piece of paper means that I'm going to stay. Like, I used to live in New York. I don't live in New York anymore. You know why?
Taxes.
Yeah, but also incompetent government, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what do I get for my tax dollars? So governments forget, right, that we now have a choice. And so people are exercising that choice. So I think poorly governed jurisdictions with bad crypto regulation are going to see businesses leave. And they don't get it, right? Because governments believe that they are the all supreme beings that sort of dictate what happens on planet Earth, but that's not the world anymore. There are plenty of jurisdictions that are happy to take crypto refugees. And they're going to benefit tremendously from an economic perspective.
Yeah, selfishly, I'm hoping that the UK turns our Brexit deficit into capitalising on this. But my lack of faith in Boris draws me back down to reality.
But also, can we talk about the fact that the FCA banned crypto products? Like the UK is not going to make it, babe. The UK is not going to make it.
Yeah. The also like the banks like they like delete your account if you've got like you've got crypto in your surname or something. It's just like your actual surname. They're like, no, let's just get rid of them for risk purposes.
Well, it's like HSBC, right? They were like, you can no longer trade MicroStrategy or Coinbase. I'm like, that doesn't mean equities. Like, what are we doing here? It's like they've lost the plot. It's just so nonsensical. And I'm like, are we making a point? Because you just look dumb. Like, I don't. What's the message we're sending? Like, what is possibly the message you could be sending there?
It is like, no, we don't like crypto. You're not allowed it. You're not allowed exposure.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make sense. Like, my bank isn't the arbiter. Like, the bank is a service provider.
Well, I think we have to speak to that. Like, we have to leave those banks. You know, like we can't just like take it. We have to have a say in that and choose not to use them.
What's the market cap of HSBC?
No idea, but
it's like half a Dogecoin. Half a Dogecoin. HSBC market cap. Has it been flipped by Doge?
I actually want to know now. I'm like genuinely
Holy
curious.
shit, market cap is 88.9 billion. CoinGecko. Dogecoin is Dogecoin 65 billion. It was high. Okay, so Dogecoin temporarily flipped HSBC before SNL, before awesome. the cringe live.
You love to see it. You know, the real rug in SNL was that they got people to watch SNL. I bet the Elon episode was like the most widely watched episode in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, that's why it's shocking that the material was so bad, because like they knew they were going to have him on. They knew it was going to be the most watched episode. That was their best material. That's the best stuff they had.
That's so depressing.
Think about the stuff they passed on. Maybe the stuff they passed on was actually good. That's why
I just think they don't have any like skits or material when it's not political season. You know, like some of their cold opens you'd see as a replay or whatever during the elections, and those could be okay. But I just think like most of the world got so tied up into politics and stuff, they just run out of anything interesting to talk about when it's over.
Yeah, but you only thought it was funny because you were like full anti-Trump, so you were like, "Yay, they've made fun of Trump again! Ha ha ha! I love this show."
I think Trump being in office is the best material for people that are like anti-Trump, though. You know, like they do. That's when they do the best.
Trump,
like CNN and stuff, they thrive off that.
Trump was comedy gold. I mean, talk about a performance artist, like a clown with a mirror. Like Trump was the ultimate clown with a mirror. He was like, "Hey guys, do you see yourselves?" I have no other comments. We should move on. Politics are stupid, but it was hilarious. Objectively speaking, it was hilarious.
I agree with that. Even though that was like, that's how Cobie and I really bonded, was over the absurdity of Trump. That's kind of like how we got to know each other the best, because
I mean, it was just so preposterous. And it was like zero thought went into any. It was just like stream of consciousness.
Total, yeah. It's like whatever came on his mind during his morning poop, that was the agenda for the entire country.
Chat wants to know, what do you think are the worst trends that are happening in crypto at the moment? The like most disheartening, disappointing things you're seeing in crypto?
I would say to me, the most, I guess the saddest thing is just like the pandering that I see to like boomer bankers. Everyone is obsessed with what like rich old white dudes have to say. And again, like not a criticism, but if we're trying to
made all their money selling sugar to children.
Basically. But I think again, what I find a little bit confusing is like, to me, what's exciting is we're building this new financial system, new players, like opportunity for a new type of person to be successful. Yet we have all these people showing up wearing like 3-piece suits to Zoom calls in the crypto space. I'm like, can you not do that? Like, please don't do that. And the people they want to emulate and the people they look up to are like the people who created the mess we're in. And so I think that's a little bit disappointing. Like, I want us to have better heroes.
Ledger, for the what's happening on BSC episode, should we both wear suits?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
I just can't think of anything better than just like full suiting up for an episode about what's happening on BSC with the dev of Scamcoin and Cummies. We should also invite the SARS of Rugistan back.
The SARS of Rugistan just need to host the episode. Like, they'll have the best questions.
I love it.
All right. So
I want to know, will you text me when the Cummies episode is? Because
I think it's going to be on
it.
Thursday. I think it's going to be on
Okay.
Thursday because she just messaged me saying she's free. So I need to check with Young Bathtubs.
It turns out she quit her job, and running a coin doesn't actually require that much when your coin doesn't do anything.
Yo, don't dunk on Cummies. We don't know what it does. That's what we've got to find out.
Oh, okay.
It might. They've got some like NFTs and shit. Who knows? Final question. We do this at the end of every single episode. We ask for some alpha, some wisdom, some life lesson that maybe you has been passed down through your family, or you learned from an educator or a teacher or something. Some piece of alpha that's going to make the chat happier, more fulfilled, richer maybe, just a better person overall. What's the life lesson they need to take away and live by for the rest of life? And I saw that on that show about the chat going up.
Yeah, I only have 3 rules in life. 3 questions I ask myself when I make a decision. 1, and most important, am I going to have fun? Number 2, am I going to make money? Number 3, am I going to learn something? If one of the boxes is checked, maybe. If 2 of the boxes are checked, great. If 3 of the boxes are checked, I'm all in.
Let's go.
That's easy.
There you go. You got three questions to ask yourself from now on, chat. I swear some people in our chat, they never have fun no matter what they're doing. They're just like,
That's
they're permanently angry people.
But for them, being mad is fun, right? Like that's.
Oh yeah,
their
that's a good point.
fun.
That's a perspective I hadn't considered. All right, I'm happy for these people now. You can keep being angry.
When I interact with people, I'm always like, what's going on with this person, right? Because everyone has like their own shit going on. I'm like, what's the deal with this human over here? And then once you kind of get their vibe, you're like, cool, this is how I interact with this human. Like, you kind of have to meet people where they are. Some people just want to be mad. I'm like, let's be salty. That's cool.
They can have fun staying angry. Have fun staying angry. All right, I like it.
Yeah.
Thank you for the alpha. Thanks for tuning in. Ledger, what are your departing thoughts?
Appreciate it, Meltem. Everybody follow Meltem at melt_dim.
But like, don't. I say dumb shit all day.
That's why they need to follow you. Our chat loves that kind of stuff.
They came from following me.
Yeah, go to uponly.tv to check out the show notes. We'll get everything there. Also, check out uponly.tv/Blockfolio. You can download Blockfolio and use it today. Trade directly from one asset to the other. You can connect your bank. You can exit all markets when it's time, whatever you need to do. Plus, you can furiously track your portfolio just like you've always done since 2014. Thanks to Blockfolio for being our partner. Thanks to Meltem for being here with us. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.